As the ancient traditions of the Kingdom of Nox say, the heir to the throne must pass a qualifying exam called noble maidens. Noble unmarried girls over the age of 14 are eligible to participate in this selection, and each noble family can nominate one candidate for the post of princess. The Garden of Noble Maidens opens as soon as the crown prince turns 20, and on this day, an invitation stamped with a red raven, that is, a symbol of the royal family, calling on all noble maidens to come to the capital. Now the main character is holding the invitations in her hands and saying what it means. This is what it is. The girl also thinks how great it is, and she can't even imagine what the capital looks like, and also wonders whether it will be interesting there. Well, she still understands that any place will be more interesting than there. Your capital will be full of delicious desserts and dishes. Also a nice dress, and it would also be nice to make friends with someone your own age. This crown princess will still be chosen in advance, so she can just enjoy her time there. But the girl still thinks how it will be, and is it really a lady from a titled family? Or maybe a popular and charismatic lady? Or maybe even an elegant and noble girl? The young lady understands that in any case she must be very beautiful and elegant. In other words, this is definitely not about her, and she is unusually happy about the free trip. A week later, someone approaches Steele, and he claims that it's his time to demonstrate his telekinesis abilities, and since other people can't see him, let him just follow orders. The bird says that it is clear, and he will do so. At this time, a lady with black hair comes to a small town. The girl thinks that this is really a shower, and there aren't even that many people there. After which she approaches two men, and they apologize, and also asks if they can tell me where the estate of Viscount Arden is located. One of the men asks if she's talking about the estate, and isn't this the place where the old man lives, who did nothing but endlessly read his books? After all, if so, then this is the 3-story building at the top of the hill. He also wonders if the girl is a newcomer, and another man claims that she seems to be the same age as their children, and they also say that their daughter is marrying the crown prince and is also friends with such an elegant lady. The girl then watches the two laugh, before thanking them for their help and heading towards the estate. Approaching a little closer, the young lady wonders if this is really the Viscount's estate, but it looks more like a hut. But since its purpose is an invitation, then everything needs to be done correctly and mistakes cannot be made. The girl also thinks how cold it is outside and tries to warm her hands and then knocks on the house. Someone replies that yes, and he is already on his way, and the brunette thinks whether they are really a noble family. After this, the guy opens the door and asks who it is. Well, when he sees the young lady, he wonders what brought her there. The girl replies that she brought news to the Viscount, after which, in her thoughts, she tells Steele to act. The bird flies near the young man, and after that, with a smile on his face, he says that it's true and it's also so cold outside, so he asks us to go inside. The girl then asks if she can talk to him now, and the young man replies that he will immediately take the lady to him. When they enter the living room, the guy asks her to settle down, because there will be icons soon, and the girl understands that there were rumors that they were not so wealthy. Well, apparently this is true, because there are no servants, and the furniture is worn out. At this time, the Viscount asks his servant who it is, and the young lady is also interested in what brought her there. The girl is then welcomed, and she says that she's glad to meet you, and that her name is Rosa Lureyer. The man then tries to remember this house, and his wife claims that they are the martial arts masters in the kingdom. The main character also thinks about this surname, and realizes that she heard that their family has a girl who has reached the age of marriage. The young lady at this time claims that Iris Lureyer, her half-sister and her mother, was a commoner, after which the girl wonders if she can tell them her story. And she also says that you can sit comfortably and claim that she was raised by her mother even after she left this world. The girl began to look for her father, and otherwise she would have had to sell herself at such a young age. She may have been accepted as an illegitimate child after a tough struggle, but this was only thanks to the inheritance of her mother. And the estate was a prison for her because she was a stain of shame on the reputation of the Duke's family. But one day, she accidentally overheard her father's conversation with the butler. The man claimed that the girls would turn 19 this year, and she also has a pretty enough face, so let the butler sell her to someone, at least as a mistress. The main character now looks at the girl in shock, and she claims that this is how she realized that her life does not belong to her at all, and only one path was open to her. So now the girl asks them to accept her into their family. The rest of the family then look at the girl in shock and then completely scream out what she is talking about. The head of the family says that this is not much, but the brunette interrupts him, apologizes, and also knows that he is being impudent, but they have just met. But she will do everything not to tarnish the Viscount's honor. The main character then turns to Madame Rosa. She also wonders what makes her go so far, after which the girl answers that she wants to become the crown princess, and the young lady is a little surprised. The girl then orders her bird to act in her thoughts, after which she also flies past the main character's parents, and they just look at each other. And the brunette, at this time, opens her suitcase, which is full of money, and claims that she will buy the right to the throne for a member of the Arden family. A short time later, the young lady looks at the tree and says that the apple harvest is good this year. Well then, she suddenly sees some weed wrapping around a tree and wonders what it is. But this green creature wraps itself further and further around the tree and then completely squeezes the apple on it. At the same moment, the young lady screams in shock and rises from the bed, after which she approaches this tree. And despite the fact that everything is fine with him, he understands that it was just a dream. The girl also thinks that she had a nightmare and this is not good, but she just can't get it out of her head. After which the girl returns to the estate and realizes that 2 weeks have already passed since Rose's arrival. Her mother turns to Rose and claims that today she is as beautiful as always, and also wonders if she is comfortable there and if anything is bothering her. Rose tells her mother that everything is fine. The main character understands that the whole family has changed and now the whole world revolves around Rose. The girl claims that she is still a little uncomfortable because this place is new to her, but nothing else will bother her. With her pretty face and sweet personality, their new adopted daughter captured the hearts of her parents. And Mark began to behave strangely, and he didn't look like himself at all. Mark puts tea on the table at this time, and he says that this is the one that the young lady spoke about in the morning. The girl then thanks the guy, and she claims that she really missed this tea because she often indulged in it on the estate, but still asks for forgiveness for forcing it on them. After this, they all laugh, and the main character realizes that her family members now seem like strangers to her, and they would have had enough money for another couple of years of comfortable life. Well, they loved her so much. Therefore, the young lady turns to Mark and also asks if he will pour her a cup of tea. However, the guy wonders if Mrs. Apple said that she doesn't drink black tea because of its bitterness. After which the girl screams that she drinks sometimes and understands that even if he likes this new mistress so much, but isn't he taking on too much? The young man then pours black tea for the lady, and the mother of the main character at this time turns to him and also tells him to prepare another warm blanket. And then suddenly the Rose catches a cold, after which the young man agrees. Apple then turns to her mom, and she claims that she started having problems sleeping and that the wind seemed to be getting stronger. The woman then says with a smile on her face how poor Apple is. And this, of course, is very inconvenient, but they already had to convert the attic into a living room, so she apologizes. And the brunette at this time claims that she cannot sleep if there is someone nearby. The main character then sighs and wonders if all noble maidens are like this, and what's the problem if they are both girls. Rosa, well, then says that they started a fight. But it's cold, but he's very close to the roof. This means the starry sky opens up in front of her in all its glory, and she can fall asleep every night under the iridescent lights of the starry sky. So romantic, after which the rest of the families are surprised, and the main character feels disgusted by this. The girl also says that she doesn't care how romantic it is because it's just cold there, and the brunette claims that there was no need to change rooms, but she was so susceptible to the cold. And before arriving at the Lurer estate, she also constantly slept in the attic, and all she had was a blanket. But every day brought her so much joy, and she had a place to hide. The main character then looks at the girl in shock, and her mother then asks, "Isn't Apple being too cruel to Rose, because such a poor girl came a long way, just to find a place to spend the night?" Mark screams that the lady is absolutely right, and if he were Ms. Apple, he would offer her to use his room. The brunette then asks what they are doing, and also claims that everything is in order, or that she came to them. So, that's already quite impudent and undignified of her. After this, everyone in the family falls silent. Well, then Rose breaks this silence and turns to her sister, and also says that if she wants. Then they immediately exchange rooms. But when the young lady looks at us in the meadow and her mother, he understands that they are all for Rosa, but the girl still thinks that she, too, is the mistress in this house. The brunette at this time turns to Apple and asks what she will say about the girl. She thinks no one will take her side, but they really have already crossed the border. So now the young lady gets up from her seat and says that everything is fine, and she is just asking for the blanket to be replaced, and then leaves. And the brunette watches this coldly. The main character then enters the room in the attic and asks if all noble maidens are like this. She also starts sweeping even more and screams, "Is this really so?" The girl also remembers Rose, and she understands that she is fragile and also tender. And only by her posture one can see how refined and graceful she is. And she speaks about us with warmth in her voice. So now the girl screams that in her eyes she is also cute. And yet they had never had a problem before. But if her family would now treat her like nothing, what will happen to her then? However, the young ladies only scream and speak after this, that this girl is adopted and she will soon go to the capital, and her life will be as before. Therefore, now the main character understands that she needs to strengthen herself and not get angry even if this girl annoys her. But Apple then gets angry again and screams how infuriating all this is. But at the same moment, someone else comes into the attic, and she says that her sister clearly lacks dignity since she screamed there with a broom in her hands. The main character then asks in shock when she came there, and the girl replies that as soon as she called her foster. The main character then realizes that she has ended up, and then wonders what brought Mrs. Rose there to the cold attic. The girl replies that she can call her just a Rose, and even if it's not for long, they are still a family. Apple then repeats the word family and says, "That's for sure." The brunette at this time claims that the day of departure was set, and the day after tomorrow she leaves by train towards St. Velprout tomorrow at 5 o'clock in the morning. The main character then congratulates the girl and tells her to definitely achieve her goal, and Rosa then turns to her sister, which makes the girl even a little scared and wonders if she really wants to tell her something. The brunette then asks if the girl wants to go to the royal palace with her. The main character then comes into shock and asks why she gave in to her, and the brunette claims that she knows everything about the conditions for selection for the post of crown princess and everything that is needed to get into the palace. This is a royal invitation, as well as a letter of recommendation signed by the head of the family. A minimum of 3 dresses, as well as one maid who is noble and has normal etiquette at a sufficient level. So now the brunette turns to her beloved sister and asks her to come with her to the palace as a maid. The young lady then, in shock, asks if she really should become a maid, and the brunette claims that Laurier, of course, promised her to provide a servant, but she can also trust them. After all, they also presented a candidate. Apple then wonders in shock what happened to the girl's angelic expression. The brunette claims that she thought about choosing one of their servants, but how is it that they are a noble family and don't even keep maids? And they have only one servant who has never read a single book in his entire life. The young lady then asks in shock what is wrong with her and why the girl is saying that. And the brunette is only interested in whether the girl thinks that she will ever have the chance to move to the capital if she lives in such a place. But if the young lady goes with her, she will meet a prince whose face none of the ordinary people have ever seen, and maybe even His Highness. But in any case, all the work will be done for them, and the girl only has to serve her. The main character then says that she is not a maid, and cries out if the girl is looking down on her just because she was cleaning right now. However, the brunette wonders if she really looks down on the servants. But the maids in the royal palace are all noble ladies, like both of them, and these people can also take part in the selection if they wish. So if a girl arrives at the palace alone, it is likely that they will not accept her. But if she becomes a princess, then a completely different story will begin for the young lady who is her maid. However, Apple immediately tells her to leave the room, and she will not tell anything to either her mother or her father. The brunette then says with a smile on her face that the girl will still go on the journey with her, and the main character then gets angry and thinks what this girl is even doing. The next day, the young lady just goes into her room and leans on the bed and also cries. The girl remembers how her father said that it doesn't matter how the young lady feels about it, but they accepted Rosa, You are their family, but for their daughter to refuse to make decisions as the head of the family, is it unheard of for a man to ask who the girl makes of him? Now the young lady also hears someone knocking, and it turns out to be her mother, and then asks if she can come in. After the woman comes in, the young lady asks if they can't find anyone to become Rose's maid. The woman replies that she has no other family and only them, and the fact that she is going to the palace alone fills her heart with anxiety. The woman also claims that the young lady will not be like other servants, and her task is to always watch over her mistress and also share her soul. Sometimes she can be hot-tempered, but she misinterprets what is happening around her, and for the young lady, this will be an invaluable experience. But the main character claims that it is not necessary that it was she, and the woman says that yes, but she also knows. But Apple needs to understand something important. The girl then asks what this is about. The woman replies that it is true, which they should never forget. The main character then closes her eyes and claims that it's good, and she will also do as her mother says. A short time later, the young lady is already on the train and also tells Rose that she is not going because she likes the girl, and she's only going because everyone else in her family is too busy. The main character also understands that Rose is the savior of the Arden family, and the Ardens always pay their debts to those who helped them. The girl also claims that she is leaving the Arden estate for the first time. I also wonder if the capital is big, and also what if she can't understand the capital's pronunciation? The brunette then wonders if the girl is the type who talks a lot when she feels lonely, and the main character replies that candidates for the princess's heritage must be beautiful. And the main character asks if Mrs. Iris is beautiful, to which Rose replies that yes, and she is very beautiful, but she can't compare with her, so don't let the girl worry. The main character then realizes that she is interested, how beautiful she really is, and she believes they will meet her somewhere when they arrive at the palace. The young lady is also interested in what is there about the crown prince, and they don't know anything about him at all. In addition to his name and age, that's why the girl wonders if he's also handsome. And since the girl wants to become a princess, it will be great if he turns out to be handsome. However, the brunette then asks why she is so interested in whether the girl will not even contact him, although one day she will still meet him. The young lady then gets shocked and also wonders if the girl is angry because she asked about her future husband. But nothing has been decided yet, and the princess has not been chosen. Apple also thinks about whether she should apologize, but then she doesn't understand why she should apologize. And the brunette claims that if you really think about it, then they need to decide how to address each other. Apple asks what she is talking about, and the girl claims that they are no longer sisters, but a candidate for the role of a princess and a maid. Therefore, from now on, she asks to address her only as Madam and not to forget about the formalities. She will simply call her Apple, and the girl asks if that's true. The blonde then understands that this girl is not her mistress or even her sister, and she is a real witch. Rose then turns to Apple and asks if they should practice, after which she talks about Darjeeling tea and also claims that it should contain 170 milliliters of water and must be at a temperature of 85 degrees, and it needs to be brewed for 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Apple then tells her to wait, and the brunette only claims that the girl should have started her answer with something else. The young lady then says yes, and the brunette states that she should say yes, mistress. The young lady then says yes, madam, through clenched teeth, and realizes that she needs to be patient while the garden is open. A short time later, someone wakes up the young lady, and the girl asks Mark to give her another 5 minutes. However, then someone asks her proportions for brewing Darjeeling tea, and the main character immediately rises and also claims that there should be 170 milliliters of water with a temperature of 85 degrees Celsius, and it takes 2 minutes and 30 seconds to fill it up. Hey! The girl also falls, and the brunette turns to her and says that the young lady should be ready to serve it soon, and Apple wonders if they have already arrived at the royal palace. The girl replies that no, and they still have a day to go to the palace, and first they will stop briefly in Tiswell. The main character wonders if they will go out to get some fresh air, and the brunette replies that no, and the young lady will go get a newspaper, so let her buy everything there is, even magazines at the station. Apple understands that this girl carries things that suit her so well, and the brunette says that, in addition, let the young lady stop behaving like this. It's too embarrassing to fall like she just did, and there are other passengers on this train. The main character then asks if there are other passengers there, but she thought that there were only them there. But the Grenadian turns to her sister and asks how many noble families she thinks there are in their kingdom. Apple answers that 30, and the brunette says that even if we take into account only the main ones, there are 683 of them. About a third do not have daughters and unmarried ladies who are already 14 because the head of the family is still too young. Sometimes, however, very noble ladies or even members of royal families from other powers also participate, so they can count these too. And if we talk on average, based on records at the moment, the estimated number of candidates for the role of crown princess is about 500 ladies. The main character, then in shock, thinks whether there are really 500 of them, and is also interested. Has the lady really conducted an investigation? To which she replies that, of course, we are talking about her life. At this time, someone reports that the train is arriving at Tisville Station and the stop will last 60 minutes. They also ask respected passengers to take their seats 10 minutes before departure, and the brunette says that Apple has tasks for this. Let her go. Then the main character gets off the train and thinks why she is so uncomfortable because she just took a nap. Well, then someone turns to the young lady and tells her to move out of the way. The main character then says that if they want to get on the train, they should let her get off first. She is alcoholic, then screams, "How dare a girl get off the train without letting Mrs. Tiswell pass," being a simple servant. She also wonders whose family the girl serves, because they must inform her mistress about her disgusting manners. However, then one of the women claims that the young lady can first get off the train, after which the main character does so. Well, when he looks at all these people, he thinks, are they really all maids? But there are so many of them. At this time, one of them stumbles and realizes that she cannot maintain her balance and is about to fall. The main character immediately grabs her and also asks if she is okay, after which the lady with green hair. He gets embarrassed and then heads towards the train and asks for forgiveness. The young lady wonders what is wrong with her, but then she still understands that she needs to quickly sort things out and come back, otherwise Rose might get angry. Then the main character buys newspapers and magazines, but on all the first pages, a lady is indicated who is the Diamond of Tiswell, that is, Lady Claire, and the main character understands that she must be one of the leading candidates for the role of Crown Princess, and she thinks that this woman is really beautiful, after which she also sees another girl and thinks that she looks familiar, but somewhere she has already seen her. But then the main character remembers that this is the girl who almost fell just now, after which she thinks, is this girl really not a maid? But her dress looks rustic compared to Lady Tiswell, so she was mistaken. And next time you should definitely say hello when you meet. The main character also looks at her watch and realizes that it's time to go back. But then she approaches one of the kiosks and also thinks that maybe she should buy some bread, and Rose won't say anything if she buys it for her too. The girl also thinks about what she loves. But then the young lady thinks, what difference does it make to her? Because the brunette can choose anyone if she buys different ones. Then he points to the bread and says that he will take them. The main character thinks she hasn't bought a lot, because she has bread and newspapers, medicines and magazines. Well, everything in the first place and on a long journey is very important to her, and Rose shouldn't get sick because she will become the crown princess. The main character also says that she would like to take another walk, but Rosa is probably already bored. Then the young lady comes closer to the train, but leads several ladies there and wonders what happened, after which the young lady approaches them and asks if something is wrong. But at the same moment, these ladies look at her furiously. The main character then looks at the lady with green hair and thinks why she is crying, and also what happened. Claire at this time asks where the girl was. She answers something that she was buying groceries for her mistress, and Lady Claire then claims that Charlotte's invitation was lost. The main character then asks if it is really missing. A little while ago, all the girls were sitting on the train. One of them asked, "What do the ladies think? And who will become the triumphant of the garden?" The other ladies just remained silent after that, and the girl with pink hair claimed that there is only one place for the crown princess, and that means there will be only one winner. I also wondered whether it would be unwise to support a promising candidate from the very beginning. And of course, it doesn't matter at all if they think they can defeat her. After this, the atmosphere on the train became tense, and the girl claimed that, in any case, they were all ready to get into the garden just in case. She suggested checking that everyone present had invitations, after which the ladies began to take out their invitations. However, when the girl with green hair rummaged through her bag, she looked a little puzzled. Claire then asked what happened, and the girl only claimed that she could not find the invitation, after which Claire, in shock, asked if her invitation had really disappeared. Again, it's impossible to lose such an important thing. She also claimed that Charlotte definitely had the invitation in her hands, and she investigated to monitor this more closely, so the girl asks why it's always like this with her. After that, Charlotte just started crying, and the lady with pink hair told her not to cry, and turned to the maid and also told her to invite everyone else. She also searched every corner and made sure to ask everyone, because maybe someone had seen him. However, then one of the maids asked the mistress for forgiveness, but claimed that she had found nothing. Therefore, now the lady with pink hair turns to the main character and claims that everyone was busy looking for an invitation and also wondering where she was. The girl then wonders when it disappeared. Rose then claims that they don't know when it disappeared. Well, the loss itself was discovered as soon as Apple left the city, and they searched the entire train, as well as each of the maids, but still did not find the invitation. Claire claims that another maid was searched and asks if that's not true. However, the young lady claims that she left as soon as the candidates arrived and as if she had time to steal something. Well, one of the maids screams that naturally it was she, because she picked up Mistress Charlotte. Apple, in shock, asks what they are talking about, and one of the maids claims that when Lady Voltaire boarded the train, it was the maid who approached her from behind, and she definitely saw it. The young lady then remembers how she caught the lady with pink hair and screams that she supported her so that the girl did not fall. And the girl then asks Charlotte if this is true. The lady with green hair replies that yes, and she helped her, after which the main character claims that she did speak, and Claire claims that the girl could have stolen it under the pretext of helping, and it was definitely in Charlotte's arms when they left the crew, and she saw it with her own eyes. At this time, someone reports that there are 10 minutes left before the train leaves the station, and they ask passengers to take their seats. The young lady then asks what she should do, and should she undress. But she is innocent. Rose tells the girl not to pay attention to them. They should go, and then tells the girl to make her a cup of tea. But Claire then turns to Lady Arden and asks if she really wants to say that she will not take part in the search. But the brunette asks why she would do this, because her maid has no reason to steal the invitation, and she had already provided them with all possible help. And from the very beginning, this matter had nothing to do with her. But the lady with pink hair screams that without an invitation, Charlotte will be excluded from the candidates, and there will be no point for her to even take the train. However, the brunette claims that, unfortunately, she cannot help, and if she should have realized the importance of the invitation from the very beginning. And also, isn't it her fault that she couldn't take care of him properly? Claire then asks if Ms. Arden is trying to disown herself from the investigation. One of the people then screams that the truth needs to be found out, and if her maid is not guilty of anything, then they can confirm it themselves. The main character then abruptly puts all the groceries on the floor and then throws her wallet to Rose, and her cape and boots to the maid, who accused her, after which the girl stands without shoes and cape, and asks if they are happy because she is not guilty of anything, after which she screams for them to stop. After all, they should be looking for an invitation and not discussing formalities, and the lady should not give up either, because she has come all this way to take part in the selection. But the lady with green hair claims that she can't find him anywhere, and there are only 5 minutes left before departure, and the main character asks what it means because they only have 5 minutes. She also turns to her mistress and asks what she is doing and whether she will get ready and go look for the invitation, and also asks what it looks like and wonders if she can look at it again. But the blonde says that it's not worth it, and if she starts searching, she will lose her maid. And then, not only Lady Voltaire will be excluded from the selection, but also her. However, the main character asks what people will say about her if she doesn't help, and the brunette claims that she will deal with it herself, but the young lady claims that she promised her family at Arden Manor that she would take care of her. And also, she is not a simple servant who follows her in her tracks and must also pay her for her kindness. So it is her duty as a sister, and also as the heiress of the Arden family. Rose then sighs and extends his invitation. The main character understands that he has a white envelope and also the seal of a raven with a wingspan, and she is powdered with gold dust. And on the contrary, it seems strange to her that they can't find it because it catches their eye. And she thinks that the culprit is trying to get the invitation and gold dust stolen. It's too little for the envelope to be of any value. And if the girl is not a candidate for the post of princess, who is it? It's completely useless. The brunette then says that another option is possible and tells it to the young lady. The main character then runs away and claims that she will be right back. After which, the main character immediately runs with all her might, and the brunette claims that since they didn't find it, it's possible that the letter was stolen by a raven. Apple then thinks who could have thought that buying bread would be useful, because she was just looking around. The brunette claimed that, after all ravens were attracted to shiny objects, and the main character realizes that she saw a crow's nest on the clock tower, after which the girl nevertheless sees this letter and thinks how good it is that the raven himself is not there. However, she also thinks about getting there. And what should she climb? Well, then the young lady sees a ladder near one of the stalls, after which he immediately grabs it and claims that he is renting it for a second. But the man who works there claims that the ladder is not for sale. The young lady then applies this ladder. But when she climbs, it moves a little, and the girl gets a little scared. Taniaka then sees that one man is holding her and claims that he will help the father and let the girl be more careful, after which the young lady thanks him. And she also climbs further and realizes that time is running out, after which she reaches for the nest and thinks that there is just a little more left, and now she will get it. After which, one of the women turns to the mistress and tells her to take it, to which the girl thanks. And with the help of a stick, he already takes out the letter. But when it falls, a raven also flies up to the nest, and the young lady, frightened by him, cannot resist and begins to fall down the stairs. People are then surprised that the young lady falls, but does not feel pain, and someone only says that prosperity and blessings will descend. After which, the young man grabs the girl and asks if she is okay. The main character then asks who he is. She also thinks what a handsome guy, but then she remembers the letter and understands that she needs to come to her senses. She also claims that she needs to deliver an invitation to Madame Voltaire, but the guy claims that the train should have already left the station. And the main character is shocked. However, the young man tells the girl not to worry. After all, he asked them to stay late so that if she hurried, she would arrive just in time. However, when the young man looks at this invitation, he is a little surprised, and then turns to the lady. And the young lady, in shock, asks if it's really torn. And the guy replies that he's afraid things are much more serious. At this time, the person who drives the train reports that the train to the capital is delayed by 30 minutes due to minor circumstances. They ask passengers to remain in their seats. Claire at this time turns to the sperm whale and tells her not to worry, because even if the girl got to the capital, there would be no guarantees that she would become the next princess. And probably this blessing will survive. But she still didn't want to go there, and the ladies with pink hair claim that they will definitely try for her sake. So he asks Charlotte if she will support her as a friend. After which, she gets on the train. One of the maids then asks for forgiveness, but claims that since Lady Rose's maid is not there, she will give the cloak to her. However, after this, Rose only gets angry, after which he grabs the maid and asks him, "Is this her doing?" The woman then asks what Mrs. Rosa suddenly came up with, and the brunette claims that Mrs. Voltaire's invitation came directly from the capital, and how could Apple find out about it? Because maybe it's her maid's fault, and maybe she's on the train. After all, this invitation is absolutely useless for anyone who is not a candidate for the post of crown princess, which means that the majority do not care about the invitation. However, the situation becomes suspicious, because this is exactly what she encountered when she got off the train. The main character at this time turns to the lady and claims that she has found an invitation, however. Rose asks who else is next to her. The young man then says that this is the invitation they were looking for, and then holds it out to him. And Apple then says that the lady should listen, because she climbed the stairs to the crow's nest and, however, Rose tells the girl to keep quiet, after which she begins to look at the envelope and hands it to Lady Voltaire. The lady with green hair then thanks the mistress, but Rose says that there is no need to thank her. After all, the invitation is a fake. Claire gets off the train at the same moment. He also asks what they allow themselves and whether this letter is a fake. Rose states that the seal on the envelope is slightly different from the royal raven, and the lady with pink hair claims that Mrs. Charlotte is the heart of the Voltaire family, so she asks how the girl dares to accuse her of forgery. Rose claims that, with the exception of the gold dust, making an invitation does not cost that much, but only a princess candidate would consider it priceless, after which she turns to Lady Tiswell and also asks if she can look at her invitation. Claire, shocked, asks if she's gone crazy and if she's blaming her now. The girl also screams that her invitation is real and Lady Rose has seen it before. But the brunette claims that the only thing she saw was this envelope. But if you look at the invitation itself, it will not be difficult to determine the true owner. The lady with pink hair claims that this is impossible and then screams that this is her invitation. Then, the young man asks Mrs. Tiswell for forgiveness for the fact that he publicly appeals to her in such a situation. The young man claims that his name is Sid Laurier, and he is a devoted servant of the royal family of Knox, and His Highness gave him the appropriate powers to ensure that the selection was fair, and it was in his power to determine whether the suspected candidate could be accused of foul play. So he asks her to show the invitation. The woman then does just that. Then the young man looks at the document, and the lady with pink hair claims that there is no need to study it for so long. After all, it is obvious that this is her invitation, regardless of how carefully he studies it. But the young man only tells the girl to stop digging her own grave. After all, Her Majesty the Queen's Secret Service has a long history of monitoring such selections in the Knox Kingdom, so he asks her to refrain from such unworthy actions in the future. The young man hands the document to the lady with green hair and claims that he is on behalf of the selection judge for the post of Crown Princess. Claire Teaswell is suspended. The girl then says that this cannot be, and the young man claims that since they have resolved this situation, he asks them to return to their places. The lady with pink hair then looks furiously at the main character and then completely screams that it was all her and the girl she didn't like at first glance. But this matter didn't concern her at all, so why did she even stick her nose into it? And it's not fair because she was the best candidate for the post of princess. The girl also cries out that for the sake of the prosperity of their kingdom, only the most capable candidate should receive an invitation to the garden. However, at the same moment, Sid stands in front of her and claims that their conversation is over. And also the girl causes inconvenience to the princess candidates, and he wonders if the girl could leave the platform. The girl then screams for their hands to be taken away from her because she hasn't done anything, and the main character sneezes and says that she doesn't feel well. Rose tells the young lady to forget about it and go inside, or else she would rather stay there and freeze. On the train, the main character says that her head feels like it's splitting in two and thinks that she couldn't have caught a cold. Apple also looks at Rose and asks what is wrong with her, and also states that if she wants, then you should sleep where you're supposed to. But the girl replies that she doesn't want to, and screams at the lady that she's so uncomfortable and cold that it's driving her crazy. The brunette then asks if that's true, and she didn't think the young lady was finally starting to pay attention to something else and use her brain. Apple then thinks what the hell did she say, and then says that it's okay, and asks the dear lady to enlighten her on what the hell she did wrong. The brunette wonders if the girl really doesn't understand what she did wrong, and the main character screams, which is why she's asking. Rose then asks what would have happened if Mr. Larray had not delayed the train. The main character then doesn't even know what to say, and the brunette claims that she knows that the girl thinks there is poison ivy in her garden, but since she is her servant, she is now burdened with certain obligations, and the way she behaved at the station was contrary to these obligations. The main character then asks for forgiveness and believes that she is really to blame. However, the brunette says that there is no need to twist her words and let her say exactly what she did wrong. The young lady then claims that Rose asked her not to help with Voltaire's house, but she didn't listen, and she also asked her not to leave, because there were 5 minutes left before departure, but she still left, and she even said that she would return on time, but purely theoretically she was late. And the brunette claims that the girl almost fell into eternal sleep, and Sid Lurer told her everything. After all, the girl fell down the stairs, after which the brunette screamed out what a heroine the girl is, and she left her alone on the train, while she went about her business, to which the girl was surprised, and Rose asks why she always does. But at the same moment, someone knocks on their room, and the main character comes to the door and asks who is there, after which he opens the door and sees Madame Voltaire there. Charlotte is then greeted and says yes. She also wanted to ask if Mrs. Arden had a free minute. The young lady then says that the mistress is inside and asks them to come inside. The brother then greets Lady Voltaire. She also asks if there is a reason why her maids are not there. The girl then tells Mrs. Arden that she wanted to thank the two of them for their help and then hand them a homemade treat on their way. And if they don't mind, then she asks them to use it in gratitude. Well, the brunette then asks if the girl is really thanking them despite the fact that they are the reason for her friend's expulsion. And the lady with green hair then claims that she still considers Lady Claire her friend, but she has not done anything for her, and even if the opportunity to get into the garden makes her very happy, then she wouldn't mind giving her her invitation, because after all she was right, and there's nothing special about her. And she's also very shy, and she did not turn out to be a real princess, and yet she must take part in the selection. And also, in the end, she would prefer to help her family on her own for the first time. The main character then thinks that indeed a raiding in the garden can dramatically change the status of any family. That's why every candidate takes the selection process so seriously, even Rose. Charlotte at this time thanks Lady Arden for her help, but when he wants to address the young lady, he claims that he does not know her name. The girl replies that her name is Apple, and then Charlotte claims that the Voltaire family is indebted to her, and, as a member of this family, she will do everything possible to repay them one day. The main character and Rose are then a little surprised and silently look at the girl. Charlotte only gets embarrassed from this and then asks them to help themselves and claims that everything is very tasty. He also claims that she is leaving and asks to forgive her. After this, Charlotte leaves, and these two begin to eat cookies, and the brunette claims that they are not poisoned, and the main character asks what she is talking about. After which she eats the cookies herself and also thinks how delicious they are. Rose then says that so be it, she forgives her this time, and the young lady asks what she is talking about, and the brunette asks if she has already forgotten, because they were just discussing it. Apple then states that she won't do that anymore and will be a devoted servant with her responsibilities. However, the brunette then claims that she is only human, and if she does anything stupid, she can harm herself and also fall into eternal sleep, and she always thinks and calculates everything, what to do and when, and also for what she is ready to sacrifice her life. The young lady then becomes a little worried about Rose, and she claims that now for Apple, as her maid, only she should be a priority and no one else, because after all, she only needs to be her maid for a couple of months. But at this time, she must remember one thing, and that is that she belongs to her. The main character is a little surprised after this, and they silently continue driving. A little time later, the main character is already sleeping in bed, and Rose is going somewhere. There she sees Sid, and asks if it is Mrs. Arden. The British one tells him to be quiet, and he says that they should go to the end because they need to talk. Then they go outside, and the guy throws his cape over the girl. He also asks if the mistress's chief maid has fallen asleep. The brunette replies that apparently she caught a cold, and even though she bought cold medicine for her, she had to use it herself, so she fell asleep. The blonde then says what a poor thing she is, and probably caught a cold while she was running around the Tisville station, and as soon as he can get more medicine, he will certainly deliver it to her. But the girl claims that she does not need handouts. She also wonders what the future Duke of Lorraine was doing at Tisville station, and the young man claims that he was worried about her. Rose asks about whom, and the guy says that there is nothing surprising in this. After all, the girl had come all the way to the Arden estate, so he planned to use the telephone line at the Tisville station to communicate with her, and the young lady then asks if he didn't already know the day of her departure. The guy then smiles and says that the schedules are a little mixed up, and the girl says that he almost made a big mistake. But as usual, he doesn't understand anything. The guy then says that it is because of this that Lady Iris constantly worries about her, and she does not worry about him as much as about her. After all, everyone is worried about Lady Rose. The girl then removes her ring from her little finger, and the magic begins to dissipate. Rose says that Summer and Steele are doing a good job, so let him tell them not to worry about his safety in vain. The blonde then says that having only 2 guards will not help them calm down, and the guy claims that this old man will never calm down even if he carries personal knights in his purse. And he will calm down only when he manages to lock him up. The blonde then wonders if it seems to him that he is going too far, and has even invented an alter ego for himself. However, the young man asks what's wrong with this. After that, Sid wants to say something else, and the guy tells him to stop, after which he puts his ring back on and tells him not to even think about getting in his way. After all, he doesn't need anyone, not even a friend. The next morning, the main character is already sitting with Rose, and also asks if she knows that Mr. Sid Luray. Rose then asks what it is, and the main character wonders if he's not a charmer, after which the brunette completely tramples underwater, and also asks what she's talking about. The main character then approaches the girl and asks if everything is okay, but the brunette is only interested. Does the young lady like Sid Luray? Apple asks what's wrong, and isn't he cute? And Rose wonders if the girl didn't say that she's not interested in guys. The main character, wiping her face of tea, claims that perhaps she said so, but then she only knew Mark. But she had never met such a nice young man as Mr. Luray. The brunette says that since the girl is so interested in him, why doesn't she go and chat with him? After which he wonders if the girl won't even try. And the young lady replies that she doesn't know and doesn't even understand what to talk about. Rose then asks if she really needs to give a hint, and the main character asks if they really know each other. After this, the brunette just sighs and asks if the girl really forgot her name. The young lady claims that her name is Rosa, and her interlocutor claims that her name is Rosa Luray, and Sid Luray is her half-brother. The main character then comes into shock, but then someone claims that the train will cross the St. Welprout border in about 10 minutes. The young lady immediately turns to Rose and asks if she heard, but she was so surprised at how big and beautiful Tiswilla Station was that she couldn't even imagine how beautiful the palace would be. The brunette claims that they are just crossing the border, and there are still 30 minutes left to the station. The main character then looks out of the window, but claims that she is nervous. The brunette then says that they will hope that then she will become more attentive. But the young lady wonders if the brunette is joking because she won't be able to. The blonde then comes into their room and thanks them for their patience, and also states that they have come a long way from the Arden estate. He also has to make some announcements in advance, since there may not be enough time once they arrive at the station. The young man also claims that as soon as they arrive at the station, reporters will most likely be lying in wait. And everyone in this country is waiting for the candidates to arrive in the garden, and of course, they will want to know everything. This will be their faces, names, past hobbies, family secrets and interests, and even what they ate for breakfast today. The young lady then wonders if there will be reporters there, but she is very nervous even if she is not the center of attention, or if she makes a mistake. Rosa will have problems, so the girl understands that she needs to calm down. The young man at this time claims that he will be with great pleasure personally accompanying the ladies to the palace, and unfortunately, since he is a representative of the Judicial Committee, he cannot communicate too closely with the candidates. Therefore, he will stay behind without interfering with them, so that they do not worry if he suddenly disappears somewhere. Rose then says that she will be glad to see the Duke of Luray again, and the main character understands that they look like an exemplary couple, but how lucky it is because she is just a servant, so she doesn't even have a chance. But at this time, the guy holds out his hand and wonders if he can ask the mistress for it. The girl understands that she won't be able to shake her hand like that, and she won't be able to behave with restraint while he kisses her hand. At this time, the guy once again turns to Lady Arden and asks if he can ask for her hand. But the girl then, in shock, claims that she is just a servant. The young man claims that he immediately realized the whole truth as soon as he saw Lady Arden with Rose. So he would like to greet her accordingly, and asks if the girl will allow him. After this, the young lady only becomes embarrassed, and when the guy kisses her hand, she almost goes crazy. The young man then thanks her for deciding to take care of his sister. Rose at this moment is only angry. After a long time, they finally arrive at St. Welprout Station. When they leave the stations, crowds of reporters immediately head towards them. Their main character looks at all this in shock. One of them, at this time, turns to Lady Rose and asks her for a few words. He also asks if it is true that she is the illegitimate child of the Duke of Luray. Voltaire asks how she feels about the exclusion of her friend, Lady Tiswell, from the candidates' garden. The main character understands that all these flashes are blinding her and thinks about what they are even talking about. Rose at this time tells the girl not to lag behind, but not to run. At the same moment, someone turns to the lady and asks her to comment. They also say that the whole situation was thought out in advance and wonder if this is true. The knights then ask to keep their distance because they must ensure the safety of the candidates. And the main character thinks how crazy this is, but Rose looks calm, and she is as impassive as always. One of the men then asks if it is true that Lady Arden helped exclude Lady Tiswell from the selection because she was the main contender. The young lady is then shocked and wonders what nonsense this guy is talking about, but Rose stops her, and she claims that the girl promised to obey her. The girl then raises her hand, and all the other reporters seem stunned by this. The girl then greets them, and she claims that her name is Rose Arden, and she is also a candidate from the Arden family. She knows almost nothing about Lady Claire Teaswell's expulsion, and that's all she can say. This is that she was a worthy as well as a beautiful and highly gifted candidate. The main character then thinks in shock that the girl is talking about this, and the brunette claims that it is true that she is the illegitimate child of the Duke of Luray. Well, he treated her with all his heart, just like other children. Apple realizes that this is not the story she heard, and the girl at this time claims that she asks them not to think anything bad about her family. Apple is shocked and wonders if this is all a game. After this, the brunette sheds tears all over him, and also claims that this is all she can say. She also thanks them for their time. The main character watches all this in shock, after which he turns to the lady and asks her not to cry, and then they climb into the carriage. The main character then claims that she is exhausted and says that Rosa is also an actress, but the girl claims that she told the truth. Apple wonders if this speech about an illegitimate child was special, and the girl claims that this is called a strategic move and then tells the young lady to look out the window. But the photo that they will take now will take the front page tomorrow, and the Arden and Voltaire families are not particularly well known, and she was more worried about the fact that there might not be anyone there. So Mrs. Tiswell's scandal did serve them well, and the main character wonders why they should go so far. The girl then tells her sister that there are 500 candidates there, and how can she think she can cope alone against 500? The main character then believes that the reporters were still rude, but the girl mentioned that Miss Tiswell was gifted and a useful candidate, and also wondered why she said that. The girl claims that knowing Count Tiswell, he will shift all the blame onto someone else. And the young lady then screams in shock that reporters are supposed to spread the truth, and only the truth, and at least that's what she was taught. The brunette then tells the girl to use this opportunity and remember that 9 out of 10 people lie to her. The main character then claims that she thought that the capital would have many nice and great people. But there everything is wrong and the girl droops a little. Rose doesn't even know what to say then and looks a little puzzled. The main character then turns to her and asks what it is, and the girl just puts her hand on hers. A short time later, their carriage is already approaching the checkpoint, and the guy asks their name. The main character claims that this is Lady Rose Arden, and the young man says that the invitation and recommendation are real. He also wonders how many servants the lady has. Apple replies that she is the only one, and then the guy asks for the name of the head maid. The main character then tells him to move closer to her, and the brunette asks why she is whispering, because her name is not so strange. The main character says that it's a secret, but she's just embarrassed because it's just like a cartoon princess's. Rose says it's cute and asks what's wrong with it, and also should she say this name instead of her. But the main character immediately jumps on the girl and screams that no, and also let her be silent. At this time, the young man claims that his check is completed and then hands over a box with something, and the young lady realizes that everything is easier than she thought, and then wonders what it is. The brunette claims that now the real game begins, so let the sister focus on her responsibilities. At this time, they are welcomed to the blessed land of St. Velprot, and a little time later, they already enter Rose's room. The main character is then surprised and thinks how luxurious it is there. Rose collapses on the bed and says that she can explore the rooms later, and the girl will open the box first. Apple agrees with the lady and also claims that there is a map and some kind of note, and also wonder if she wants her to read hey since the girl is so tired. After which the main character begins to read, and it says that the girl is there. It can also be located in the Aimeli or Sasar Palace. However, movement outside the palace is prohibited, and the girl claims that, judging by the map, they are in the Aimeli Palace. The royal maid will bring them breakfast in their chambers every morning, and lunch and dinner will be served in the dining halls that are located on each floor, or they can ask servants to deliver meals to them in their chambers. If they want to leave the palace, they need to inform 12 hours in advance in order to receive permission, and the kingdom can allocate nights. The palace opens its doors from 09 Suzars to 21 Saos, so they will need to return while the gates are open, and they cannot spend the night outside the palace. However, in special cases, the king can give his permission. Apple also wonders if this has anything to do with Ms. Ita, says she thinks so. The girl then continues to read that candidates are provided with only 4 free placements for maids, and if there are more than 5 maids, then the costs of their accommodation in the palace will be allocated from the personal funds of the candidates. The palace servants who are provided to their kingdoms will do cleaning and laundry twice a day. However, they may refuse such services and activities for female candidates. They will be held twice a day in the morning and evening, and they can also choose the courses that they like. If the candidate prefers individual lessons, then the teacher must also cover the costs themselves. Dinner will be served in the main hall between the 2 palaces, whose doors are open until midnight and where they can mingle with other candidates. The young lady also writes something else and claims that this is a list of prohibitions. It states that candidates should not have any weapons, poisons, or unprocessed materials, including those that can cause a sharp and allergic reaction or heat that can negatively affect digestion and well-being, and only certain types of handles are allowed. It is prohibited to harm other candidates or threaten them, including blackmailing them, and it is also prohibited to have armed guards in the palace, with the exception of personal maids. In case of violation of the rules, if a candidate violates the above rules, the Royal Judicial Commission can hold the feathers of the offender, and in some cases, candidates can also be immediately excluded from the selection. Rose then asks if this is all the girl is interested in what feathers we are talking about. The brunette replies that it's some kind of talisman, and they'll probably tell everything during the welcoming ceremony, so Apple doesn't have to worry about it. The main character then asks if they will have a welcoming ceremony, and the girl replies that they do one for everything, and she is sure that that guy will be there again as a servant. She then gets out of bed and claims that she has to tell Apple something first. The young lady then thinks what it is and then sits down on a chair near the bed. And the brunette claims that from now on, she will not only be her eyes and ears, but also her arms and legs. The written rule states that candidates must not snoop around for information on other candidates, and she cannot leave these chambers without being accompanied by her maid. So 50% of her success depends on her. Apple asks if the maid is that important, and the girl replies that yes, that's why they are allowed to have personal servants in this selection. Apple then wonders if they should compare this to a chess game, and Rose claims that if she is the king, then the maid is the figure that protects the king, moving along the board instead of him, and it could be a knight, a rook, or even a pawn. The main character then asks if this is true, and if this means that she will be a lagi or an elephant, or maybe even a queen. The lady replies that obviously the girl is a pawn, and let her ask whoever she wants, but everyone will say that she is a pawn. The main character then asks in shock what she is talking about, and the brunette claims that she is a pawn, but if she works hard, she can become a queen. So let her not be sad. However, the main character at this time is furious, and also screams out how small Rose is. But then the girl still doesn't finish her sentence. At the same moment, someone turns to the lady and asks for forgiveness, and also claims that it is his duty to inform Lady Rose Arden about the program for the welcoming ceremony, after which the young lady opens the door and sees that the maid has brought a box. She claims that the welcoming ceremony will take place 3 days later at 11 Sturies, in the great garden located between the palaces of Aimeli and Sassara. And also a visit is a must, and that's all. The main character then opens the box and sees some kind of dress there, after which she immediately turns to Rose and claims that these must be new clothes as a gift to her from the royal palace. and the girl claims that this is a uniform for a maid. And the real game has begun, so let the girl be careful. And because of these walls, she should not just call her Rose. The main character then says that yes, and a little later she is already dressing in her uniform. And she also thinks that since her skills are so mediocre, why doesn't Rose ask someone else for this? The brunette claims that her room is a sacred place, and she cannot let anyone in who she does not trust. The girl then tries several hairstyles, and then screams that she tried to do everything that was eaten in her window. She didn't like anything. Rose claims that she thought it was quite nice, but the main character then kills her, and she claims that she wants to ask if she knows anything about the latest fashion trends in the capital, and she also screams that the girl herself doesn't know anything about it. Now the young ladies understand that she cannot believe that this girl kicked her out too, and she forced her to look for someone who could teach her. But she was only glad that Mrs. Charlotte had just been settled in the same palace in which they were located, after which the main character goes around the corner and wonders if she needs to go there. The young lady also approaches one of the doors. Then he knocks there, and when the door opens, the young lady bows and is also greeted. The young lady raises her head and asks if the girl remembers her, because she would like to ask her for a favor. However, then a very pumped-up maid appears in front of the young lady, and she asks in shock, "Is this really a man?" The maid then replies that she is a girl, and the main character asks for forgiveness. She bows and claims that she's probably in the wrong room, so she apologizes, but she thinks that she can't believe that she didn't notice. But they have the same uniform. Apple also really wants to run away and curl up in some corner. Well then, someone turns to Mary and asks if a guest has come to them. The lady with blonde hair then asks how she can help, and the main character thinks how beautiful this girl is. Well, then he realizes that she seems very familiar, and the young lady understands that she is very similar to Sid Luray, and then asks if the lady is a relative of Mr. Luray. The blonde replies that she is wondering if the girl knows her brother. The main character is then a little surprised, and the woman asks if she is his fan. Apple believes that they are not that familiar, and then claims that she is his fan. The blonde then states that it must be fate. The young lady wonders what is going on. The girl then asks to come in, but the young lady then says no, but the maid is already dragging her in. When the young lady goes inside, she sees that there are a lot of maids there and realizes that Rose's chambers are. There is no comparison with these, and there are at least 20 maids there. The blonde then claims that she should introduce herself first. Then she claims that her name is Iris Larir, and Sid is her brother. The main character then thinks that this is not at all the atmosphere that comes from Rose. Well, since she got there, she can clearly chat about Sid. The young lady claims her name is Apple, and she is the maid of Lady Rose Arden, and she was also lucky to meet Mr. Luray on the train on the way to the palace, and he helped her, unusually, at one of the stations. The blonde then says that they arrived unaccompanied by guards, but she was so worried when she heard that the train was delayed. But it turned out that she got to the palace without the opportunity to greet any of them. But now, thanks to her, she feels much better. Iris. Then he says that there is enough talk about Sid, and also wonders how she can help. The main character then says that there is such a thing, and she is Rose's only maid. And so, besides her, she has no one to help her with her hair and makeup. And since she lives far from large cities, she is unfamiliar with the metropolitan trends, so she would not refuse to learn something new. Iris claims that a girl can always learn something from them, and Mary is the best among all the maids of the Duchy of Laurier in terms of hairstyles. The main character then thinks in shock what she is talking about a little while later. The maid, leaving, begins to braid the young lady's hair, and also claims that she is in the capital now. It is popular to part the hair and braid it, and loosely fasten part of the curl at the back. And Mrs. Apple also suits this style very well. The young lady then asks if this is so, and the maid at this time claims that the girl obediently follows all her instructions and offers to try again. Iris then asks, "Isn't Mary beautiful?" And also if the girl wants to learn something else, she asks her to come at any time, to which the young lady agrees, but understands that she just wants to go back. So in her thoughts, she asks them to let her go and save her from suffering. After which, the main character finally braids her hair and thinks that this is how it's done. Iris at this time turns to Lady Apple. Their main character asks Mrs. Iris what it is. Strider then asks to call her simply Iris, and also asks if everything is okay with Rose, because they were very worried about her, but she refused any help on her way to the Arden estate. The main character then remembers what happened to Rose and thinks why this girl is suddenly worried about her. Then she claims that Mr. Sid Leraire asked her the same thing, and she thanks her for her concern about Ms. Rosa. The blonde then claims that when Rose lived at Laurier Manor, she often seemed lacking the will to live. So now she asks the girl to come back again, because they can happily chat, and if she warns about her visit in advance, she will definitely prepare the best treats. The young lady then claims that she will certainly inform Mrs. Rosie about this, and understands that she does not need to lose her activity. The only ally that Rose now has is her. At this time, Iris claims that since the girl might get lost, let Mary accompany her, and the main character thinks whether the girl expresses concern in this way, or is it enough to follow her like that. After this, the main character follows the maid and realizes that, if you think about it that way, then she doesn't know anything about Rose, and on the way there, she needed to find out more from her. At first, she was very upset because of the way her parents revolved around Rose, but she herself does not hate her. The maid at this time says that they need to go there, but at the same moment, someone turns to her and asks who it is there. The woman asks whose dog it is, and the young lady wonders who is talking there. Mary at this time claims that it is her ladyship, Mrs. Peneltia. The woman then asks if they are really running errands. And also, do they really deliver dog food? Mary then asks goodbye and claims that they are leaving. Well, the woman then asks why they are still early. She also reaches out to Apple and asks why this maid doesn't greet her properly. The main character then bows, and she says that she is glad to meet her ladyship and also understands that she does not know who this woman really is, so she can hardly address her by name. The lady with red hair then asks if the girl doesn't know who she is, after which she says how unexpected this is, and is also interested in Hotel 9. She doesn't look like one of the dogs of the Leray family. Another maid claims to be Lady Rose Arden's personal maid, and the woman then asks if she is talking about Rose Arden, and also claims that she has not heard of her. Well, then she remembers and claims that she is the illegitimate child about whom they write in the newspapers. But that means she's just from the family of some viscount. The main character then thinks whether she just said some viscount, and the woman is only interested in how the maid of some viscount's daughter dares to catch her eye. After which everyone swings their hand, and after that the sound of an impact is heard. However, the young lady does not feel pain, and when she opens her eyes, she sees Mary in front of her. The woman then asks in shock if the girl really just stopped her, and how dare she defend the maid to some dubiously noble girl who dared to ignore her. Mary claims that this girl is now the honored guest of Mrs. Iris, and after that the woman just grins and wonders if she is a guest of the Luray family. Then he just grins and claims that the servant of the Luray family is protecting the maid Arden. Moreover, they are considered an honored guest of the Luray family. After which the woman speaks, "So let them go then." The young lady is then a little surprised and asks what she is talking about, and the woman claims that she said that they were single, and for today she lets them go. But then the woman comes closer to Apple and takes her chin. Then he tells the girl to keep a close eye on her little mistress. At this time, the brunette is watching the prince through the mirror, and the bird then says that that's all. After which the young man tells the bird to watch her if he is not around, and if something happens to the girl, then let him immediately report to him. Bird then claims that he will do everything in his power, but the young man says no, and let the bird carry out his order in any case, and give it to Steele. And also he will not repeat twice, after which the bird says that he will do as the master orders. At this time, the young man also hears someone knocking on the room, and the lady also says that it is she. The girl then asks if the mistress is inside, and Rose quickly puts a ring on her finger and asks if she has returned yet. Then the boy transforms back into a girl, and the main character looks for Mrs. Rose. The brunette then opens one of the doors and claims that she decided to change clothes since she was so tired. Apple asks if she needed her help. She also claims that she can help her next time, but Rose asks what she is talking about. Apple replies that it is the maid's duty to help her mistress with her outfit. However, the brunette claims that she can dress and undress herself when she needs to, so let her just try to go into the dressing room when she is there. This also applies to the bathroom, but the main character wonders why, and isn't it hard for her to deal with all the clothes herself? The brunette claims that Apple is her only servant, so she has to use her as efficiently as possible, which means that such assignments are not part of her duties. Well, she still wonders why the girl came back so late. Their main character says that's the problem. However, the brunette just tells her to wait and realizes that something is wrong, because in the mirror she looked completely different. Then, he asks if the girl didn't say that her cold went away in the morning. And also, did she deceive her? Apple claims that she really is feeling better. And Rose understands that the girl was truly scared, and if she is exposed to such stress, she may fall ill again. And she would never have let her go if she knew that this would happen. After which, the girl takes out the medicine. And he says that Apple should accept him, and also rest. But the young lady claims that this is the mistress's bed. Rose then says that today the girl can take advantage of her, so let her be grateful. She also unravels the girl's hair and takes off her shoes, and also screams out to make sure she can get along in society without her. She then settles the young lady down, and the main character wonders if they can sleep together. Rose then asks if she really wants the two of them to be sick, and the young lady claims that she misses her mother. And according to her father, according to Mrs. Hannah, and even according to Mark, well, she doesn't even have the opportunity to invite them there. The brunette then says, "What a stupid girl, after all. They left just a couple of days ago." The main character replies that she knows but is still bored, after which the brunette remains silent for a bit. And then she sits on the bed and claims that since they can't invite them there, she will stay next to her instead of them. The main character then wishes Rose pleasant dreams and then turns around in the other direction. The brunette then looks at her hand and remembers how the young lady held onto it, and then claims that she always does what she wants, and also says that the night will be long. A short time later, Rose claims that 3 days have already passed, and the girl knows how important it is for the candidate to meet and chat in the main hall, and yet she is the only maid who fell ill, and she also thinks that she can instantly cure her with some simple magic. But only a few can use magic, and if she uses the spell inside the royal palace, she will be immediately revealed. And a girl who knows nothing is easier to manipulate than a bunch of suspicious maids. And the best outcome would be if the girl behaved like an older sister, ready to sacrifice her needs for the sake of the younger one. After all, in the end, Steel's feathers can control the minds of others, and it seemed to her that finally in front of her was the very pawn that she could use without a twinge of conscience. However, her expectations were not at all justified, and the girl is completely unpredictable and capricious, and will most likely serve as a hindrance to her plan. At this time, someone knocks on the room, and Rose wonders who it is. Then the girl enters the room, and also wishes you good morning. Rose asks if this is Lady Voltaire, and she also understands that she only had to think about coming right now. The lady with green hair claims that she had been thinking about paying her respects for a long time, but she didn't manage to meet her outside the hall or at dinner. The brunette then thinks that, in other words, no one accepted her. You are your coalition. And it's difficult to understand the true intentions of the lady from Tisville. After which the brunette grins. She also thinks that perhaps this girl can become useful to her. The lady with green hair just apologizes at this time, because she did not warn about the visit in advance. But the college brand says that she should come in. She also asks if they can chat a little, because she is overcome with boredom, because her maid has caught a cold. Charlotte then asks what she is talking about, and the brunette replies that unfortunately, the Arden family, I couldn't give her more servants. The green-haired lady then says what to think, and it was so rude on her part, so she asks to accept her sincere apology, but she can't even imagine how much inconvenience she caused them by provoking such a conversation. Rose then asks her to be a little quieter, so as not to wake up her maid, and asks, "Will the girl keep this a secret?" The lady with green hair replies that yes, and a little later, they are already sitting at the table. The brunette then wonders how the small talk went in the hall, and if we take into account the atmosphere, she is sure that many have created their own circle. Charlotte then asks, a little surprised, how she knew, and the brunette replies that it's quite natural. After all, in the end, many ladies realize that they cannot reach the throne, but how can they afford to return home so early? After which, Rose turns to Madame Voltaire and asks if she has chosen her social circle, or maybe she just didn't have the courage to make an acquaintance. Charlotte then asks to be forgiven for her arrogance. Well, she claims that with all her heart, She would like to support the two of them, just as they helped her on the way there. And of course, she doesn't represent much, but she still does. The brunette just smiles after that. He also asks what the main coalitions are at the moment. Charlotte says they're going first. The ladies who supported Duchess Iris of Lorraine, and the girls who stood behind them. Lady Cannes Peneltia. The Duchy of Lorraine has been a loyal ally of the royal family for centuries. So many have followed the name alone. Peneltia is a very young family of marquises, but the lady behaves quite defiantly, and she does not want to seem rude, but she is surprised that the woman has already found allies. The lady with green hair then gets a little nervous and claims that, to be honest, she is confused. The welcoming ceremony will take place tomorrow. The ritual states that the welcoming ceremony is worth behaving with restraint, and if she is nervous, then the girl offers to go there together. Charlotte then asks if it's true, and also claims that she would be very happy about this, and also let the lady be sure that she will spend tomorrow's greeting as well as possible. After this, Charlotte leaves, and the brunette remains in the room with the main character. She then approaches the mirror and realizes that these data follow Peneltia as the last maidens, regardless of her status. And the garden is a confrontation between hundreds of sought-after brides, and the desire of each is to seize the opposition of the crown princess. However, some have already realized the insignificance of their chances and have chosen other candidates who should be supported, and if the girl returns from the garden with good results, then the suitors will instantly crowd at the gate. Such ladies are considered a wonderful opportunity by noble maidens, which means that the oath of eternal love is sung by the entire nation. Nothing more than just a political game of dominance, and the guy claims that he will break these outdated traditions with my own hands. A short time later, Rosa puts her hand on the girl's forehead and claims that her fever has finally subsided, and today she can already get back on her feet. The main character then opens her eyes and immediately jumps out of bed. The brunette claims that the girl slept for 3 days, and because of this, they did not even have a chance to make acquaintance in the garden or at dinner. Apple then apologizes and claims that she didn't think she was so affected by the disease, after which she claims that she will be right back. And when she comes back, she wishes the lady good morning and asks if she wants to style her hair in the latest fashion. The girl then asks if the maid thinks she wants to have anything to do with Luray's notion of the latest fashion, and let her just put everything together as usual. Apple asks if the lady is sure, because others will probably do everything today to stand out, and also curses the girl in her thoughts and thinks that she has been practicing for so long. After this, the brunette just smiles and claims that she is already beautiful. A short time later, they are already heading down the corridor, and someone turns to Mrs. Arden. It turns out to be a lady with green hair, and she claims that this part is for her to accompany her to the ceremony today. Charlotte also turns to the main character and asks how she is feeling today, to which the girl replies that everything is fine and thanks her for her concern. In addition, she also says that she is just a maid in this palace, so let Lady Voltaire just call her Apple. However, the girl says no, and she won't do that at all. But he also tells Mrs. Apple that she was very surprised when she found out that she was actually the daughter of a viscount, and she is haunted by the thought that the lady who saved her is addressing her in such a formal way, and it is also very embarrassing. Therefore, the girl screams that she simply cannot allow this to happen. The main character then turns to the lady, and she claims that if people hear that she addresses her like that, she will find herself in an awkward position. So she suggests observing formalities within the garden, and if there are no strangers around, then they may well skip the formalities. And even if they are from different cities, their houses are still located in the north of the country, so they can be friends. The lady with green hair only gets embarrassed from such words and asks if she wants to be her friend. The blonde claims that she understands, and this could also put her in a difficult position. Well, Charlotte then asks what she's saying because she would be glad, after which he asks the girl to be her friend, and the main character says that she did not agree, and the lady with green hair smiles after that, and Rose watches with a smile on her face, after which she moves on, and Apple asks the lady for forgiveness and claims that she is already on her way, after which they head to the garden, and the young lady, looking at him, says that there are such places in the palace. When they enter the clearing, the main character is surprised at how much space there is. One of the girls then says that the others should look because there is another one there, and she is very pretty. The main character then exchanges glances with the lady with red hair, after which she just turns away from her. Then Apple and Rose also pass near the table with Iris, and the main character thinks, aren't they supposed to exchange greetings? Or does Rose not want to be associated with the Lure family? When they sit down at the table, the main character thinks how bright it is there, but realizes that Rose looks unperturbed and aren't all noble maidens like that. She then looks at Lady Iris and realizes that she also looks calm. The young lady then looks at the woman with red hair when she catches her eye. Then he immediately turns around and realizes that he's also watching with interest. The main character then turns to Rose and asks if she isn't nervous. However, the brunette puts a piece of her made dessert in her mouth, and Apple thinks how delicious it is. Rose then claims that it will start now, so let the girl be attentive. Then someone wishes eternal prosperity and blessings to the great kingdom of Nox, and also greets all the most beautiful, wise, and noble ladies on behalf of His Majesty the King. The man also claims that it is an honor for him to present 7 judges who will observe and evaluate them throughout the entire time. One of them turns out to be Sid, or the lady looks at him a little embarrassed. The guy then sees the main character at the table and then smiles at her, and the girl thinks in shock. Did he really just smile at her and then become completely embarrassed? And also think that this couldn't be true, and he probably looked at Rosa. The girl also says how wonderful Sid is, and then just sighs, and also says what a bastard he is. Apple asks if the lady really said something and if she was talking about Mr. Sid. The brunette only says that this gentleman on the podium is an inaccessible flower. And it's even funny that the young lady thinks that sometimes Rosa's words fly completely past her. Because first, the girl called the guy a bastard, and then a flower. And finally, the kingdom's advisor, Nox, comes out there, as well as the Minister of the Interior. That is, Duchess Layla Posatil Pantheon. The young lady then thinks that she is a duchess and a minister, but she becomes embarrassed just from looking in her direction, and according to tradition, the ladies of the royal family are responsible for checking all candidates for crown princesses. However, at the moment, there are no such ladies in the royal family, and thus the Duchess of Pantheon, who is the sister of the late queen, will take on such responsibility. The woman claims that for her, this is part of welcoming the young ladies who in the future may become the head of the kingdom of Nox. And she thanks them from the bottom of her heart for taking the time to be there today, and let her never reach the level of their deceased queen. But she, Layla Postil Pantheon, swears by the wings of a light raven, ensure fairness throughout the selection process. One of the girls at this time claims that the Duchess of Pantheon is magnificent, albeit terrifying, and another claims that in the end she became a duchess on her own, even as a woman, and she should be with the leader in political art. Another lady claims that she heard that the duchess wants to push through a completely new law, and she is a little nervous. The woman will only clap her hands and assert that she thinks it's time to discuss something. What they are all certainly concerned about is the purpose of this selection. The duchess tells them to be careful, and also states that that noble maiden, who demonstrates outstanding talent throughout the garden, will receive one of these golden feathers. Golden feathers are intended. Select ladies worthy of such an honor, and she asks them to also note that all feathers are enchanted and cannot be faked. If one of them violates the rules, a certain number of feathers will be taken from her possession according to the decision of the panel of judges. From the present moment, this is both their assessments and their lives, and they also understand that they are the ladies of the Nox kingdom. So let them collect these feathers regardless of the price that stands in front of them, and within the framework of its fairly appropriate expectation that any noble maiden will not be able to get a single opera within 2 weeks, will be automatically excluded from the selection, and will leave their garden. A woman, when she claims that, suddenly the lady looks awkward. And of course, even the most inconspicuous candidate has a chance of success if she is ready to do anything for him. Yes, and besides, the only thing that matters to them now is Peru. And in fact, it may even be close to them now, after which the woman claims that the flower that turns its head to the south at noon, and also the flower that glows scarlet at the peak. 2 feathers are hidden in a garden of such flowers, so why don't they raise a glass in honor of the first competition of the Garden of Noble Maidens? After which she asks them to take their glasses, and also wishes them eternal prosperity and blessings to the great kingdom of Nox. Ladies also want this, But when everyone puts down their glasses, first the Duchess looks at Rose, and she looks coldly back at her. The main character looks at her mistress and thinks where she is looking. At this time, the ladies begin to disperse, after which there is no one left at the table at all. The main character then thinks about the flower that turns its head to the south at noon, and the one that glows scarlet at the peak. But she doesn't have the slightest idea, so she thinks that there is no choice, and they will think on the fly. But the main character also understands that Rose is probably nervous, and she needs to pull herself together to help her mistress. And the noble lady's maid in the garden should be her eyes, ears, hands, and feet, so she must not let the other girls find the feather first. And now the young lady rises from her seat, after which he turns to the mistress and extends his hand to her, and also asks if they should move forward and understands that she must be the first to find this feather. After which they head through the garden, and the girl claims that this is a real labyrinth, but she has already forgotten where they entered it. Rose then tells Apple to just stay with her. However, the young lady claims that they need feathers for the girl to become the winner of the garden. The brunette claims that today is just a warm-up, and she is sure that over the next 2 weeks she will be able to earn more. He also tells Apple to remember that they should not get involved with some coalitions, and if they quietly wait for their way, then one will soon drown itself. The main character then says that there are no red flowers, and then just asks out of curiosity, what will Rose do when she wins? The girl replies that the victory itself is important to her, and she can think about the rest later. The Arden family will be under her protection, and she has no plans beyond that for now. The main character then asks if she really has no plans, and the girl replies that there are none, and that's all. Apple is then silent for a bit, and the brunette just walks forward. The main character then tells the girl to wait for her, and then thinks what kind of flower is that turns its head to the south at noon and burns at its peak. The main character also claims that if Rose is right, and the other girls are afraid to get their hands dirty, then the maids will do all the dirty work for them. And if she were a judge, she would hide it where no one can get it. After which she says, "Let Rose think about this. And what is the beauty of this selection if all the work for the candidates will be done by their maids?" The girl also claims that if they really want to prove their worth, they should find everything themselves, and the brunette wonders where the girl thinks they hid the feather. The main character then answers that she doesn't know, but then she sees some kind of flower. He also tells Rose to take a look. However, when she reaches for this flower, she realizes that she cannot get it. She also says that the stem must come out from the other side, after which she confirms, "Well, we'll look from there, so let the mistress wait," and the girl says that it's good, but let her just do it faster. The main character then goes to the flower and thinks that if this is it, then they must have done it on purpose so that short ladies could not reach it. When the main character realizes that she has found him and thinks that she can get him, well, at the same moment, several more people approach her from behind, and then they come closer to her, and they close her mouth, and the girl is shocked and thinks what is happening. After this, water from a bucket is poured onto her. The main character opens her eyes and thinks what happened because she was looking for feathers. But then someone addresses her as a squirrel and says it's time to wake up. The main character then thinks in shock what it is like to see a lady with red hair and those who support her in front of her, and also understands that this is Lady Kanya Peneltia, after which she rises from her seat, and she cries out what the girl allows herself to do. But at the same moment, the young lady's hands are wrung back, and Apple claims that she sees that the woman has a passion for hitting little girls. Kana only approaches her and claims that last time the maid couldn't say a word, but now all she has to do is look at her. The blonde then wonders what she allows herself in the sacred garden, and the lady with red hair asks how she thinks, and a simple search for treasure is too boring, so she asks if it seems like that to the girl, so they decided to play a little. Kana binds the main character's hands and claims that it will be fun, and also asks if she thinks so. Apple only tells the girl not to drag her into these games, and the woman claims that she doesn't need to do anything because they are the ones who will play, and this is also a kind of test. Apple claims that she doesn't know what they want to achieve with this, but don't they think they should get her opinion first? However, the girls just laugh after that, and the woman with red hair says that the young lady is right, but she's a good girl, so she doesn't need permission. Apple asks why, and Kana asks who is interested in the opinion of some maid, and then says that there is enough talk. Everyone has been waiting for them for so long. So let the young lady entertain her, and then the woman kicks her, and also states that they can begin. Then he says that they will start hunting squirrels. Rose at this time begins to feel something wrong and asks what happened. Well, when she looks around the corner, she sees that the young lady is no longer there, and there is only bent grass left there. Rosa then gets angry and claims that she should not have let this girl go alone. The maids then look for feathers for their mistresses, and Rose just goes with the mirror and swears, and also understands that maybe the image of a rose is too strongly charged with a magical barrier. But this is just an excuse, and this is exactly what she looked like at 14 years old. Well, it's too risky to take off the ring now, since those who can use magic in the country are only the royal family and a select few. Rose also grits her teeth and says Kani Peneltia's name. She also understands that she first needs to find her coalition. After all, if she follows one of them, she will be able to find Apple. But she hardly knows them by sight. Well, none of them are there. Then everyone also hears the bell, and the girl understands that this is at least a hint and a withered flower. And also the hand reaching out to this flower means that this flower turns its head to the south at noon. The girl also understands that now is not the time to think about feathers. After all, she needs to find Apple, but she still doesn't understand which direction she should go. At this time, someone turns to Rosa, and the girl is a little surprised by this. It turns out to be Iris, and she asks where her maids are. The brunette replies that she sent them to look for Miss Apple, and the blonde claims that she heard that the girl was missing. The brunette asks how she knew because she didn't tell her about it, and Iris claims that the young lady was not near her, so she assumed that something had happened to her. The brunette then wonders if the girl thought about it without asking her, and the blonde replies that she didn't have time for that. Yes, and in addition, she is also responsible for this incident because Lady Peneltia tracked down Miss Apple instead of facing them, and she provokes them. The brunette then claims that she knows and understands that Canna Peneltia used such a dirty trick. Although the garden has always been like this, and candidates for princesses are all noble maidens. And also, at first glance, everyone is on an equal footing and punishment will go to those who harm others. So instead of threatening the candidate directly, they take it out on their maids. But this was expected. From a very early age, the punishment they deserved was ultimately inflicted on them by others, and the garden is a vicious circle, and in the end, there are only survivors. The brunette claims that in real life everything is even worse. Iris at this time extends her hand to the girl, and he claims that he wants to help her, after which he hands her a pen and claims that he will support her. And to Mrs. Apple, she also swears on the honor of the Luray family. Rose asks if this is the purpose of today's competition, and he claims that the maids must have worked hard to find him, after which the girl sings her hand to this Peru, but still squeezes it and also thinks about the bargaining chip. And he understands that it was stupid to think so. The girl also understands that she cannot just take it, and to exchange Apple for someone else, therefore, she now claims that she does not doubt Iris's friendliness, but still he will refuse. The blonde then turns to Killian, a little worried, and the young man just takes off his ring and claims that, from the very beginning, this is his area of responsibility. The lady with red hair, and at this time, asks if everyone remembers the rules, because as soon as they catch the girl, they should immediately release her so that everyone can have fun. The main character then asks in shock what she just said, and Kana claims that no one cares what the hot squirrel is muttering there. The other girls just grin after this, and the woman claims that they need proof that they caught her, so let them bring her some of her clothes, but only one thing should remain for others, after which the woman asks if they understood. The main character understands that she is mocking her, and the others are just laughing. But isn't there anyone in this crowd of people who will help her? Apple thinks it's too cruel, and the woman claims that the one who manages to remove the most clothes from her before the end of the ceremony will receive whatever he wants, and she swears on the name of her family. For example, they could get a piece of the Peneltia family's business or a monopolization of the spice market. Apple understands that she is being hunted out of nothing just for fun, but this is absurd. At this time, the woman pulls a scarf over the girl's eyes and claims that it is time to release the prey into the labyrinth. The main character at this time is in shock, wondering where the rose is, and also realizing that she is very scared. But still, he understands that it is time to think about the mistress, because she is not there, and she must come up with something herself. And also, she needs to do something, after which she turns to Kana. And the other girls heard this and are only indignant. And they also ask how she dares to address the noble lady without formality. And it's so rude. The lady with red hair at this time asks if the girl just addressed her by name. And the young lady understands that she must bide her time until no one finds her, and the woman will listen to her if she can offer her something in return. So she screams that she will also play and thinks that if only it would work. She also says that she will participate if the woman promises her something for winning, because then she will run away from them faster. A little while later, one of the women asks where the girl is hiding. But this is not bad for a girl with her eyes closed. One of them claims that she saw a young lady on the other side, and she already has 2 buttons. The main character then thinks that these steps are too close, and she hopes that someone will help her soon. The young lady also remembers how the woman with red hair asked if she would try to escape, and claimed that if she managed to escape from the maze before the hunt ended, then she would be the winner. Apple understands that it's already difficult to navigate in this place, and also think about how I can escape blindfolded at this time. One of Kana's henchmen claims that she found the girl, after which she presses the button, and the main character asks if it's still not enough for them, and also if they should stop already. The girl then says that the young lady doesn't even look scared. But when they are scared, it's much more fun to play. The blonde replies that at first she was scared, but only then does it become scary. When you don't know what will happen next, but she knows what they are going to do to her, so she wonders what she should be afraid of. But then one of the girls beats the maid and claims that this mongrel never understood her place. But didn't Rose Arden teach her manners? And although there is nothing surprising in that they are a legitimate child from a provincial family, does not even know how to treat a maid. The main character then says that let them only dare to touch Rose. One of the ladies claims that the girl is simply trying to cash in on the Lure name. The main character then screams that the girl is her sister, so they shouldn't even dare mention her. But then the young lady realizes that she will most likely be hit and closes her eyes. However, the girl does not feel anything and thinks that this is strange, because she was ready for them to delete her. But nothing is heard, and the young lady thinks what is happening. And also, did someone really come to the rescue? But the main character still wonders who it is, but she's scared, and the girl wonders if they can't leave her alone. The main character also asks them to just let her go once, but at the same moment, someone picks her up, and the girl wonders if this person has come to save her. The main character also understands that he has broad shoulders and strong arms. Then he wonders if it's Lady Mary. The girl starts groping the guy. Then she puts her hands around him, which makes him a little surprised, and the main character reaches for her bandage. And she asks what happened and whether she really got it too. But the young man immediately grabs her hand, and Apple asks if this man doesn't want her to see. And he also thinks why Mary is silent, and also whether she really suffered while she was dealing with the other girls. The young lady then states that it's fine, and she won't watch, but asks her to tell Mrs. Lure and let her help. The young man then places the young lady on the floor and touches her hand. Then he writes on it, "Endless prosperity and blessings." The young lady is then shocked and thinks, what does this mean? And also asks what happened. But when the girl takes off her bandage, he is shocked and thinks where she is now. And also, where did the maid go? The main character also claims that she must find a way out of the maze. Well then, someone turns to Apple and asks what she is doing there. It turns out to be Rose. A little later, a woman with red hair says what a pity it is, and asks if they think so. But a quarrel between maids on such a significant day, when a welcoming ceremony is taking place, is a pitiful sight. And also, if there were rumors, it would be a great shame. Rose then asks if this is really a quarrel between the maids. But he understands that this woman carefully planned everything, and none of the Penultia maids participated. However, the girl turns to the blonde and asks if she thinks the same. Kana then wonders what the girl means, and also whether she really thinks that the culprit of what happened is one of the candidates. The main character then addresses the erosion and claims that she is fine. And the lady with red hair claims that the owner always takes care of his trinkets. But her maid must have been at a disadvantage, facing so many servants, and she is such a poor thing. Rose just wonders if she doesn't feel any sympathy at all, after which they look at each other, and the main character is examined. She only gets scared and also understands that a verdict has been made, that the incident that disrupted the competition of the welcome ceremony and also caused the fight to be classified as paragraph 2 of unlawful acts. Thus, the decision made by 6 of the 7 judges was then announced. Despite the guilt of both parties due to the difference in damages suffered according to the rules of liability for those committed by their maids, candidate Selena Avant, as well as candidate Lucia Taylor and candidate Anne Habris, have been expelled from the garden. In addition, candidate Rose Arden has 1 feather taken away as punishment. The main character understands that she has not found a single feather, and also wonders whether this means that she will be expelled. To the market, and then turns to them and asks why Lady Peneltia will not be punished. However, the man claims that Mrs. Peneltia's maids were not involved in the conflict. Then he asks Mrs. Arden to provide a feather. Rose then thinks that Lady Luray had the feather, and she wonders whether she should bow her head in obedience or boldly challenge the pantheon. The man at this time turns to Mrs. Arden, and the main character thinks where the girl is looking. Then she sees the glass and understands. What kind of flower is this that glows scarlet at the peak? The girl also understands that it may seem from the outside that she doubts the superiority of the Duchess of the Pantheon. However, if they give up the feather, Rose will be expelled. The lady with red hair just laughs at this time, and he says not to put pressure on the girl because she has no feathers at all, and they only found 1. But then the main character passes by her, and the woman is a little surprised. And someone reports that girls are not allowed to go up there, but the young lady just pushes this guy aside and then takes a glass of wine in her hands and pours it on Kina. After this, the woman is a little surprised, and a feather also falls out of the glass. Apple claims that she won and this is her wish, and then he asks the woman what it is. After which, the blonde says that she should just try to humiliate someone again. The maids immediately turn to the mistress and ask if she is okay, and the woman then grins. She also claims that this girl is the first who dared to throw wine at her. The maids then run up to the mistress and ask if everything unnecessary is okay, but she might even catch a cold. The main character at this time leans towards the feather and says that the main thing is not to forget it, after which she is going to pick it up. Well, then Rose stops her, and the young lady thinks why. The brunette only says that it is her feather, and may they be so kind. The other aristocrats then look at all this a little surprised, and the Duchess looks at them completely coldly. Rose then tells Apple that they can leave. A short time later, they find themselves in the room. Rose tells the girl to wear these pajamas because they are the only ones that will suit her from her wardrobe. Believe me, it's still smaller than Apple. The main character then thanks Rosa, and the brunette asks if she seems like a girl, that she's acting too comfortable there. The main character then asks what's the difference, because they are one family, and the brunette claims that Lurie invited her to join forces, and she is thinking of accepting her offer. The main character then asks if this is true, and the girl replies that she decided that she should change tactics. And first of all, you need to take care of Peneltia. The young lady then sits down next to the mistress, and also claims that he hates this woman. Apple also leans against the bed and states that she is sure of it, that the lady will think everything over carefully, but she can't wait to see it. However, the Rose then says that the girl must return to the Arden estate. The main character then asks what she is talking about, and they have just arrived. However, the brunette claims that she knew from the very beginning that something like this would happen to the young lady. Apple asks what she is talking about, and the girl replies that in the garden, the maids represent their masters, and they run around them doing dirty work and also bear punishment. So she brought the girl with her, and the young lady looked like a perfect puppet, with her caring and narrow-minded soul, but because of her, the young lady suffered, and Rose claims that it's her fault, and she's also trying to tell Apple that she doesn't need me there anymore. So let her come back. The girl also claims that she will buy her train tickets, or the girl may hate her because she doesn't care about it. However, the main character then grabs the girl by the shoulder, and also asks if this is all out of pity for her. The brunette is a little silent after that, and the main character looks at her confidently. Then he asks if it was Rose who hit her, or she told them to do this, and the analysis wanted this to happen to her from the very beginning. The brunette then replies that no, and the main character wonders why the girl feels sorry for her then, and also asks if she really feels sorry for her just because, well, if so, let her feel sorry for her health, and she will simply ask for her forgiveness, and from now on she will be kinder, and right now she has nothing to apologize for. So the girl can just be kinder. The brunette only remains silent after this, and then repeats the words about being kinder. But I wonder how it is. The main character replies that firstly, let the girl treat her with respect, and not just call her big sister. Treat her like a sister. However, the girl replies that she doesn't want to, and I ask the main character how she then wants to address her. The girl replies that it's like a princess. The young lady is then shocked by these words, and the brunette claims that she will think about it. A little while later, the main character turns to some maids and asks if classes are over yet. The girls answer no, and the young lady is earlier than usual, but just in time, after which they tell the young lady to look. And when the main character looks out the window, and he also sees Rosa there, who claims that there is no point in refuting this theory, after which she asks to be allowed to explain it to her. Apple realizes that she was so busy doing all the errands alone that she didn't even have time to pay attention to her classes. The girl at this time claims that they should take into account the religious direction, and the young lady is rooting for her mistress and thinks how cool she is. At this time, the other maids claim that it is this girl again, and lately she's been turning the whole garden upside down. Another lady says she feels sorry for Lady Rose's companion. The main character then realizes that the other maids have already heard about her mistress, and she doesn't know why, but is very proud of her. The blonde also claims that this is only because she takes away the pen every time she comes to class, and the other girl replies that this is for sure. One of the girls claims that she will not be surprised, even if the crown prince himself has already heard about her. Apple then says how great this is, and she needs to work even harder to support Rose. One of the maids then says that, in any case, in 2 weeks the Sapphire Night Ball will take place, and the other ladies are all busy looking for a gentleman. She doesn't even know what Mrs. Carroll will do. The main character then asks what kind of score this is, and the girl wonders if the young lady has never heard of it, because this is the most important event of the garden. And also this night, when you can enjoy dancing with your partner, and when ladies and gentlemen can show their feelings in the light of a blue moon. They say that even a mysterious prince can drop by the ball, and the main character admires it, and he asks if the prince himself will be there. At this time, someone comes up to her from behind and asks why the girl is so happy. The main character then, in shock, asks if it's Rose, and then corrects herself and claims that she wanted to say, Madame. The girl also wonders if she has heard about the Sapphire Night Ball, and there will be a beautiful moon, a magical atmosphere, and a chance to meet the prince. However, the brunette claims that she will not go, and the main character asks in shock, what is she talking about? A short time later, they are already moving further along the corridor. The main character then remembers how the girl said that she wouldn't go, and also understands that everyone is nervous before an event as extravagant as the Sapphire Night Ball. After all, there will be magical moonlight and classical music, people who want to get to know each other better, and also noble maidens walking around the garden in the hope of meeting the prince, or the crown prince, shrouded in mystery which could appear at any moment. Ladies and their maids, as well as even the residents of the capital, look forward to this night. Therefore, the girl thinks why Rose doesn't want to participate, and this may be her only chance to ever attend the ball. The brunette at this time turns to the young lady and asks what happened, and the main character runs closer and says that it's nothing. And he also wonders why the prince never appeared in public, because we're talking about choosing a bride for him, and she would be very curious, and she would also definitely come running to take a peek. The brunette replies that maybe he's not that interested in all of this, but the girl wonders if Rose doesn't want to know more about him, because she thought that she was planning to become the crown princess. However, the girl claims that he may have his own reasons for keeping everything a secret, and the more the girl is curious, the greater her disappointment will be when she realizes that he is not who she imagined. The main character then claims that Bella told her that during the last garden, His Majesty graced the ball with his presence as the crown prince, and she's sure that she liked someone then. But it's so romantic. Rosa claims that this is all just empty gossip generated by the fantasies of ordinary people, and the girl does not know for sure. However, the main character claims that she is sure that Mr. Luray will also be there, and she is even interested in who will become his partner. The brunette then asks why the young lady is so interesting, and the answer is obvious. The main character then asks if the girl knows who he will come with, and also if it was she who invited him. Rose replies that he is the most predictable person on Earth. And the young lady claims that she didn't know about it, after which Rose says how stupid she is. After all, of course the guy will come with Lady Larare, and it is obvious that he will accompany his sister. Well, the main character says that this is accurate, but understands that it was quite predictable, and the brunette claims that even if the girl were not a candidate, he would still accompany her in 80% of cases, regardless of what event it was. The young lady then says that she understands, and the brunette claims that she looks too interested. Although they don't even go to this ball, their main character asks if they really aren't going, and also wonders why. The young lady also claims that she is Lady Rose's servant, and also asks how she could forget. But the brunette only wonders if she didn't already tell. And over the next days, she will ask for long-term travel, and it is also unlikely that she will be able to return on time. And she also, of course, regrets that the evening will not be illuminated by her extraterrestrial beauty. The young lady then asks where the lady is going, and claims that she will also go with her. However, the girl replies that no, and she will go alone. The main character then wonders when she is leaving, and the young lady replies that tomorrow, and then leaves the main character alone. However, Apple immediately bursts into the room and screams what she is talking about, and also what about her. Rose replies that the girl will be able to take care of herself while she is away, and the main characters cry out that it is easy for her to say, after which she claims that she is not even allowed to walk around the palace alone and cannot visit Charlotte because she is a simple servant. And in general, she is also uncomfortable with other maids, because everyone around will look at her. Rose then asks, what if this is a little vacation for her until she returns? She also claims that, fortunately, she has prepared a permit for the girl, and she can walk around the capital. The main character then asks in shock if she will really be allowed to walk around the capital, after which he hugs his mistress and thanks her from the bottom of his heart. She also states that she will ask Lady Mary. After all, maybe she will have free time, and the brunette claims that the girl should ask right now so that Iris has time to give her permission. The main character then asks if she can really do this, to which her mistress replies that yes, after which the young lady immediately runs away and also thanks her again. As soon as the girl leaves the room, then the girl takes off her ring and transforms. She also remembers how the young lady insisted that she was innocent when she was suspected of stealing an invitation, and how she almost lost her life when she fell down the stairs. And also when the lady with red hair wanted to hit her, and the last events when the main character, she asked if they couldn't leave her alone, and asked to let her go just once. The young man then realizes that he does not want to see the girl suffer again because of him, and then says endless prosperity and blessings. The main character at this time knocks on the room and asks Mrs. Larare farewell, and also claims that this is Apple, Mrs. Rose Arden's maid. The young lady also thinks about whether Marie will open the door again, and also understands that she will immediately ask her before Togo how Lady Larare will give her permission. Then the girl also sees someone's hand opening the door, and she understands that this is Mary, because she can be immediately recognized by her large hands, and the girl grabs this hand. She also claims that she will have a vacation, and if she doesn't mind, she will take a walk around the capital with her. The young man who stands in front of her claims that he would be happy, but the main character, seeing who it is embarrassed. And when the guy keeps smiling, the girl falls off her feet. A little later, she comes to her senses. He also asks where she is, and the young man is only interested in whether she has woken up. He also claims that this is the Larare estate, or only his family and servants live there, and the views there are simply enchanting. Even though the main duchy is located in the province, they also maintain an estate in the capital. The guy also claims that he already told her everything, but the girl apparently didn't remember. The young lady then asks in shock what he is talking about and realizes that she doesn't remember anything at all. The guy then claims that he is accompanying her today and has not gotten there yet. The young lady kept up the conversation quite well, but now she must be tired. The main character then thinks, is this tour of the Duke's estate really accompanied by Mr. Sid, and just the two of them? The young lady also understands that even though she is on vacation, Rose may not like it and she needs to go back. Therefore, now the girl asks for forgiveness and claims that she knows how busy the guy is every day. The young man then asks what the young lady is suddenly getting at, and the girl answers. that from there she can admire the views of the capital alone. However, the guy claims that this is nonsense, and he promised to accompany her today so that he would not be absent until the end of the trip. Well, the young lady then screams that there really is nothing wrong with her, and there is no need for him to complicate his life so much. But after that, the guy only sadly asks if the young lady really doesn't like him, after which the girl screams that everything is completely wrong. And the young man smiles and also says what a joy it is, after which they move on. And when the young lady gets out of the carriage, she realizes that for some reason she couldn't even get back. After this, they enter the estate and are greeted by servants. The main character thinks that this is too much, but then she realizes that what difference does it make? Because she is a guest, and she has nothing to be afraid of at all. The guy then turns to the young lady and tells her to make herself at home, to which the girl agrees. After which he looks at one of the photos and realizes that it must be from childhood, and also wonders if it's him and Lady Iris. But when they were children, they were even cuter. The guy then thanks the young lady and also claims that this gold is only for paintings and photographs, and there are those who no longer have a place on the wall. Apple says she would be interested in seeing other photos. He also asks if the guy will allow it, after which he replies that of course. And then the young lady enters one of the rooms, and he also understands that there is an image of completely different people, different eras and different places, and there is not a single photograph of Rose. The young lady also wonders if it is because she is an illegitimate child, and the girl is sure that Rose has been beautiful since childhood, and she is very sorry that she will not be able to see this. The guy at this time turns to the young lady and claims that the Rose did not live there, and therefore they do not have a photograph of her. The guy also claims that it seemed to him that the girl would like to know this, and her people answer that yes. And it's not that she was curious. She suddenly decides to change the subject and points to one of the paintings and asks what it is. The guy replies that this is a photo of the last ball of the Sapphire Night, and it was taken about 24 years ago. Apple claims that this must be a photo of the Duke. The guy replies that no, and his father only took the photo himself because it was his hobby. And then he anonymously sent this photo to the newspaper, and the next day it became the front page of all newspapers in the kingdom. To capture this achievement, he reproduced this image on a huge scale and hung it in a frame. The main character says, "What about anatomy?" and also asks who these people in the photo are. Sid replies that His Majesty is the crown prince at that time, and Lady Imel Pantheon, who was a candidate at that time. It was she who became the next crown princess, and the main character then realizes that this is their deceased queen. The young man at this time turns to the girl and claims that he will show her other rooms. And when the main character heads to other rooms, she still turns to this photo. A little while later, they are already entering the ballroom, and she also wonders if it is because she spent the whole day with this guy. Well, she finally feels more relaxed with Mr. Sid. The guy then extends his hand, and he claims that since the girl will not be present at the ball, he is obliged to take advantage of this chance. The main character then smiles and claims that she has never danced with someone her age, so she may be a little awkward. And the guy claims that then she teaches her, and the young lady says that his speeches are so pleasant to listen to. The main character also understands that it would be rude to tell him that he can charm. The guy claims that he learned a lot from his sister, and the main character wonders why he brought her there. The young man replies that he is just trying to demonstrate his interest, and the main character wonders whether he wanted to show interest in her or in Mrs. Rose. The guy then kisses the young lady's hand and claims that now only she is in front of him. At this time, the prince approaches the bed where his double is lying with a mask on his face. He also realizes that this mask came in very handy, after which the young man takes off this mask, and the double begins to dissipate, and the guy claims that this is a man whose face should be hidden, and then tells Leto to come out. Then a bird begins to appear in the air, and he claims that he cannot convey Mr. Steele's instructions. The guy then wonders if this is really about Apple's status, and also wonders what the reason is. The bird replies that Steele's consciousness is divided into many threads between different people, and there is a risk that a person connected to Steele's consciousness may also receive the message if he transmits it. The prince then wonders if the guy can't control it, and the bird replies that the master's power is unstable, and the risk is too high. The guy then understands that a large surge of his mana also matters. He also tells the bird to forget about Steele for now, and he will return him as soon as this is all over. The bird then says that he obeys, and the guy claims that in this case, summer can replace steel. The bird gets angry after this, but still bows and then disappears into the air. And the guy claims that he is wondering how many days he will spend with you not this time, and the only way to restore mana is to fall into oblivion. The young man also realizes that he feels tired but cannot sleep. Then he closes his eyes and realizes that he only needs to do this. Then the young man suddenly opens his eyes, and someone addresses him and also speaks that his grace will have to come to terms with everything. The whole farewell is the lot of each of them. And she is also sure that her sister would like the guy to understand everything. The young man was then shocked, and he said that he understood and would also do as his mother said. A little while later, the Duke's children were already walking through the maze, and the young lady asked where the exit was, and the boy claimed that everything looked the same there. After which, he kept asking him, with tears in his eyes, if they were really lost. However, the blonde told the guy not to be afraid because she was nearby. Then they turned around one of the corners and saw someone. It turned out to be the prince. However, the Duke's children did not know this and wondered if he was alone in such a place. After that, the guy only told them to come closer, after which the children did so. And the young man, after a brief silence, asserted that they had not fallen into eternal sleep and were still alive. Even after looking at his face, it means his aunt was lying to him. Sid just got scared after that, and the prince told the guy not to be afraid because he wouldn't touch him. He also claimed that if they promised to be his friends from now on, then he will lead them out of the labyrinth. The girl then asked if it was true, and the guy replied that of course, and he gives his word. However, let them not tell anyone that they saw his face. A short time later, the girl asked His Majesty, "Why does he always hide his face from others?" To which the guy replied that he doesn't know. They also say that anyone who sees his face will fall into eternal sleep, so he has no choice. The girl then wondered if someone really fell into eternal sleep just by looking at him. Now the young man opens his eyes and realizes that he again had a nightmare because he did not take the medicine that blocks them, or because there is no one nearby. The guy also understands that something he has been thinking lately is absolutely meaningless, and this is very stupid. But he was alone for 20 years, and a month with Apple couldn't change him. The young man also puts his hand near him, and he asks if the top of her head reached his shoulders. But the girl should be enjoying life while he's not around. Or she's going crazy with boredom because he won't know, and the girl won't be able to attend the ball anyway. Well, then the young man is silent a little and realizes that when he thinks about Apple, his heart does not find peace. And he's also bored. The main character at this time walks along the corridor and realizes that she has already used all her permissions to leave, and she is also interested in how Rosa is doing because she has not heard anything about her at all. The main character also thinks that she is sure that everything is fine with this girl. She then opens the door to one of the rooms and asks for forgiveness. The lady with green hair then tells the girl to come through because she was just waiting for her. And the main character says how cute her dress is, and she looks just like a forest nymph. Then the main character helps with the decorations and claims that when she first heard about the Sapphire Night, she thought that only the moon would be blue. Charlotte claims that she thought so too, but the moon created by magic is something special. The young lady then says that Charlotte has very outstanding curves, and what a pity that all this is hidden by lace. The girl is indignant after this and says that don't answer at all. She asked to make the dress like this, and she doesn't like being naked at all. The girl also asks if she looks strange, and the main character at the same moment screams that she doesn't, and she is incomparable. The other maid then asks the mistress not to move and claims that she will apply makeup. The main character then wonders who her companion is, and the maid claims that the lady didn't even say a word to them, and they think that she secretly met someone in the library, but they don't even guess who it could be. Apple. Then she states that she hopes it's not some weirdo and also screams for Charlotte to just tell her if something happens, because she will do everything to make him regret it. One of the maids then turns to Apple and says that when the ball starts, she should go down to the kitchen. Another also claims that a couple of other maids will be enough for Mistress Charlotte. And they decided to have a small party since they have nothing to do, and the girl offers to have fun in this moonlight. Her colleague then asks if the young lady can have a drink, and she is the same age as Mistress Charlotte. The main character then says that she is no longer there, and today she turned 20 years old. The maid immediately congratulates her, and the lady with green hair then asks in shock if it's the girl's birthday today. She also claims in shock that she did not know that today was her birthday. And he also wonders why the girl didn't say, because she must have had her reasons for this, and probably she didn't look worthy of trust, and she also needed to ask. The main character then claims that she only thought about it now, but everything was so turbulent there. Therefore, she didn't even have a chance to tell her, and the main character apologizes. And Charlotte asks what she should do because she doesn't even have a gift, and she asks if she can get anything for the young lady now. But there he screams that under no circumstances, because the ball will begin very soon. And the lady with green hair then tells Lady Arden to bring the best dresses from her wardrobe. The maid is then a little surprised and asks the mistress for forgiveness. And Charlotte claims that, of course, she would never give a ready-made dress from her wardrobe. Well, since she doesn't have time to sew a new one, let it be at least like this, because she can't afford Apple. Spend your birthday in a maid's uniform, and they're about the same age, so if this dress is hemmed a little, it should fit. The main character then turns to Charlotte, a little surprised, and says that the maids should do everything for Togo, for Apple to become the most beautiful lady today. The two then agree and take the young lady away, and the main character claims that she doesn't even go to the ball and wonders why all this. But the girl claims that today is her birthday, and she is a star. Yes, and besides, people can't dress up every day. The maid at this time turns to the mistress and says that they have to go, after which Charlotte says that she is already leaving, so she asks Apple not to refuse her care for her sake, after which she also hands the girl something and claims that it should suit her, and then leaves completely. One of the maids then says that their mistress is such a mistress, and what does she think they will do together? The other maid claims that she doesn't even know, and maybe they should listen to her and also make Apple the most beautiful girl in the world. After which they immediately tell the young lady to undress, and one maid asks the other if the girl will fit in without a corset. A little time later, the main character is already dressed in a beautiful dress. The main character, also asking if they think it's normal to sing, she still doesn't go to the ball. One of them claims that everything will be fine if she stays away from the ballroom, and they will throw a party for her in the kitchen. The young lady then cannot contain her smile, but then claims that she needs to run somewhere first. The maid then asks if it's right now and where she wants to go, and the young lady tells them to go ahead because she will be there soon. Apple. Then she comes into the room and takes shoes out of the box, and also realizes that her mother sent her a gift from home. And he came all this way so she can't just leave him. The girl puts on these shoes. Then he claims that he also looks like a noble maiden who goes to a ball in a beautiful outfit. The young lady also understands that she needs to hurry because everyone is probably waiting for her. When she heads up the stairs, she realizes that she is late, and then she sees someone. The main character then realizes that this thing is Charlotte and sees a guy next to her. However, then she catches his eye on herself and immediately hides. A guy a while ago claimed that he didn't know what this place was. He also asks if the lady really decided to deceive him. The girl then screams that everything is wrong and I wanted to invite him, but the guy claims that he cannot come to terms with this situation and others should not see him. Well, then the young man told her to wait a minute and also claimed that he was being overheard, after which he looked at the main character. Now the young lady is hiding around the corner and wondering if he just saw her and what she should do. After all, what will happen if he goes up there? Then someone covers the young lady's mouth and also drags her back. The young man then tells the girl to be quiet, and the main character wonders if he really helped her. The guy then says how smart she is, and the young lady then wonders who he is. She also sees a mask on the guy's face and thinks it's quite strange, and also asks if he is a ghost. The young man replies that no, and he is not a ghost, so she has nothing to fear. The guy also wonders if today there is a ball in honor of the crown prince and the candidates. He also asks why she is there all alone. The girl replies that she does not have a companion, but she already has plans, so everything is in perfect order. But the girl also says that she looks at him as being polite, and the guy says that it didn't hurt her to give up some manners either. The young man is also interested in who he has a meeting planned with, and is there anything more important than today's ball? The main character thinks what he is talking about, and also asks why he is so interested. And the guy just laughs and claims that it's just like that. The young lady then claims that it is her birthday, and the guy says that's why she's so beautiful, and then starts using magic. The main character is a little surprised. But then the light from the magic blinds her, and the girl closes her eyes. And when he opens it, he sees his double in front of him. At the same moment, the young lady asks in shock if the guy is a wizard, and he's only interested in where the meeting should take place, to which the girl replies that in the kitchen, and also thinks that this is strange, and why does she answer any of his questions? The guy then sends the double to the kitchen, and then says that now the girl is absolutely free. Apple asks what he allows himself to do, but the young man replies that she is in danger, and she can't meet this gentleman now and needs to find a safer place. Apple claims that even if he says so, he still looks much more suspicious than him. The guy then says that he doesn't even know how to convince her and Rose to be easier. The main character asks what he just said, and the young man replies that it was nothing. The girl then asks if he is not going to the ball, and if so, what is he doing there? Well, the guy just holds out his hand and claims that he will tell if she goes with him. The young lady then extends her hand, but still doesn't really trust the guy. And he just opens the door and claims that the girl is safe with him, and he gives his word. The main character then takes the young man by the hand, after which they walk as if into space itself, and the young lady wonders if this place was created by magic. But it fascinates, and the girl wonders where she is, and also the girl doesn't think that she was there even on errands. At this time, the guy puts on his shoes, and the main character, looking at this, asks where he got these shoes from, and wonders if he was barefoot before. At this time, the young man just puts on his jacket and asks if the girl knows how to tie a tie. The main character replies that yes, but she wonders if he is also made of magic, because this is very unusual. And the young man replies that no, and he left it in the room, after which he approaches the young lady. And the girl starts to tie her tie, but realizes that the guy's face is too close, but fortunately, he's wearing a mask. Then the young lady ties this tie, and the young man claims that she is so tiny and wonders if she is cold. Apple replies that she is just a little shorter than him, and that is normal because she is still a woman. She finishes tying her tie and claims that she's fine, so he shouldn't worry. Well, she still wonders why he is dressed so lightly, because it looks like he got there in a hurry. The young man replies that he just woke up, and the young lady wonders if he is sleeping with a mask on. And the guy replies that he should wear it outside of rest, and then asks whether he should take off this mask. When the young lady sees the young man's face, she is a little surprised. And he claims that as soon as they passed through the door, he cast an invisibility spell, and now no one can see them. The main character realizes that she has never met someone so beautiful. Well, she doesn't understand why he seems so familiar to her. The guy at this time invites the young lady to look down, and also asks if it doesn't look beautiful. The main character looks at the city below her and wonders if they are now in the air. But she cannot believe that this is a dream. Well, then the girl realizes that she feels cold and therefore is not sleeping and wonders what will happen if they fall, because she is a little scared. The young man claims that he is the greatest magician in the entire kingdom, so let her trust him. But Apple is only interested in who he is, and the young man asks if she shouldn't introduce herself first. The main character then claims that her name is Apple. The guy asks if this is so, but she claims that this is not her full name, and then calls her April Arden. The main character then comes into shock and screams, how does he know her name? And the young man once again calls her Iprid. This makes the girl almost go crazy and screams for him to stop. The young man replies that he will not call her that if the girl gives him a dance. The main character is silent for a bit, but when the guy calls her by name again, she interrupts him and screams in agreement. So let him stop already. After this, they begin to dance together, and with the help of magic, the young man also creates music. Apple, looking at this, is surprised and asks if all this is magic. But this is simply incredible. The guy then tells the girl to look at him too. The main character thinks this is strange. After all, his face seems so familiar, but she still wonders why he is so handsome, and did she really fall in love with him at first sight? Apple also claims that she gave her name, so let him tell her his. The young man pulls the girl closer to him, and also kisses her on the forehead, and claims that his name is Killian. The main character is then a little surprised, and asks if his name is Killian, And the guy replies that yes, and he can't say more. Otherwise, he'll have to erase her memory. Apple then thinks whether she can still behave like this with him, but it would be stupid to address him again. Then the young lady thinks who cares, and also wonders why he revealed his face to her. The guy apologizes, but claims that he can't tell her more, and the girl says that it's not fair. And the young man then moves away from her a little, and claims that he can tell her about others, and she wants to know a lot. Then the guy casts a spell on another door, and when he approaches it, he claims that the girl must find out everything before she returns. The girl then thinks about what she wants to know, and then remembers that stranger, who looked at her furiously. And he claims that he wants to know about that young man with Charlotte, and also wonders if the guy knows who he is. The young man replies that this is Benjamin de Alvin Knox. The young lady is then a little surprised by the last name, and the guy claims that this is the half-brother of His Grace the Crown Prince, and the illegitimate child of His Majesty the King. Apple wonders what he means, and in the whole kingdom there is only one crown prince. The guy replies that, of course, people will never be told this because it is a state secret and should not be revealed. And the main character thinks whether Charlotte knows about this, and also wonders what she should do and how to explain all this to her. The young man claims that all the information guilds are aware, but they risk becoming traitors to the king if they reveal this secret to people. And the girl should be grateful that he didn't let her meet this guy. Apple says that even she doesn't think it's a good idea. Killian argues that if Charlotte is already involved, then she will need to intervene, and the main character says that the guy is right. And the young man claims that then it would be better for her to know about it, after which the young lady understands that, if you really think about it that way. Yes, she was confused and could not even thank him properly, after which she thanks the young man for saving her then. But she still claims that she has one more question, or the girl is wondering how he knew that she was in beta. The guy then wants to answer, but suddenly falls silent, and then claims that he doesn't know. And there are enough secrets for today. The young lady then understands that he even revealed a state secret to her, but here he cannot confess. She also understands that this door leads to Rose's chambers. She even wonders how the girl is doing. And the young lady also thinks that this is really strange, because she has never met this guy in her life. But for some reason, he seems so familiar to her. At this time, the young man strokes the girl's head and claims that it's time to say goodbye. Then, he begins to pronounce some words, but immediately stops and is silent for a while. The main character asks what happened and whether he was going to use magic, but the young man removes his hand and replies that no, and also everything is fine, because in the end, nothing lasts forever. Then the guy also kisses the girl on the forehead and wishes her pleasant dreams. He then leaves the room and leaves the young lady alone. The main character then remains silent, a little embarrassedly, but then immediately turns to the door and opens it. But he sees that behind it there is just a corridor. Then she claims that she seemed to have had a magical dream. The young lady understands that snow crows are a symbol of the kingdom of Nox, which is also called the Golden Magician. They are born with vast reserves of mani, and at the age of 20 it reaches its peak. Since it is not given to other people, magic has become the prerogative of the kingdom, and only a select few can become magicians. Their bodies are marked with endless prosperity and blessings. Thanks to this mark, they draw the mana of the snow ravens and use magic. The woman also claimed to the boy that the queen accepted immersion in eternal sleep with great dignity, his lordship's very birth, and he must no longer take off his mask. The young man then took the mask from his hands, and the woman only insisted that no one should see his face if he revealed his face. Then anyone who sees him will fall into eternal sleep, and they should all fall into eternal sleep. Even snow crows, born with a gift from God, someday fall into eternal sleep. And when a guy turns 20 years old, he must pierce his heart with a sacred sword, and let him remember that the prosperity of their kingdom is in his hands. Therefore, he must constantly remember this, to which the young man agreed. And the woman claimed that he was the greatest magician of the entire kingdom, and she is sure that he will be able to cast a spell on himself, so that he does not run away in fear from plunging into eternal sleep, and his end will be the greatest gift for the prosperity of the kingdom. A short time later, the guy asks if 15 days have really passed, but he slept well even though he woke up. The young man also understands that something could happen to Apple, and he is glad that he left Summer to look after her. The guy also goes out onto the balcony and asks if there are still 3 months left, But soon the romance of the kingdom will dry up. Well, sometimes he still needs to sleep, because he must somehow keep his explosive mana under control. However, if she also grows, then even this ring will soon cease to restrain her. Therefore, he needs to be careful in the form of Rose. Then the young man looks at his reflection in the mirror, and he understands that he will plunge into eternal sleep when he turns 20 years old, and only the kingdom of the eternal end of life will find each of them. That's exactly what the guy thought. But since he met Apple, he doesn't want time to slip away, and he thought that the self-imposed spell would be easy to remove. But even if he knew where it all began, he still doesn't know how to deal with it. And he also thinks Apple would have found the answer in his place, and they understand that, of course not. The young man also thinks that just the thought of her brings peace to his heart, after which he puts it back on his ring and realizes that it's time to return. When the girl gets out of the carriage, the reporters immediately take pictures of her, and one of them screams that there are rumors that the girl spent all 15 days in bed, but now she feels fine. Her second place was awarded to Canna Peneltia, so one of them asks how the girl can comment on this and whether she will be able to continue her competitive participation in the Garden of Noble Maidens in the future in this state. At this time, someone else screams for them to wait and let her through, after which the main character runs up to their mistress with a smile on her face. She also shouts to the reporters that the lady needs rest, so she asks them to let them in. She also asks if everything is okay with Lady Rose, to which the girl answers yes. A short time later, they are already heading down the corridor, and Rose confirms that it must be class time, and there is no one there. She also turns to Apple and asks what she was doing without her, to which the main character is not surprised. And she also understands that she is sure the lady will not like it if she finds out that she did attend the ball. But there she even met her future husband, so now he swooped in and answered that nothing happened to her at all. The brunette then says that now the girl is taller, and the main character asks what she said. However, Rose only turns around and claims that there is nothing, after which she enters the room, and the young lady asks her to wait. Rose takes off her outerwear and sits down at the table, then turns to Apple. But then someone knocks on the door and the young lady tells the person to wait a second. Then someone asks for forgiveness, and the young lady tells him to come in. The man then enters the room and wishes him a good day, and also asks for forgiveness for the wait. Apple claims that he is just in time and tells the man to go there, after which she pulls up a chair, and the stranger unfolds the camera. Rosa claims that they should contact the studio if they want to take a new profile photo, but the main game does not answer that they don't, and it's personal, and also asks about the lady. Has she never had a family portrait? Rosa wonders what the girl is up to about the main character, and tells her not to persist because it's just one photo, and she bought all the film so the pictures won't go anywhere else. Rose then asks what kind of family portrait this is, because there are only 2 of them, and the girl is not even her sister. However, the main character replies that she knows, and when the lady wins and also gets married, then she will take a photo with her real family, that is, the crown prince. So let her think of it as practice with the unreal family. In general, at this time, he tells them to smile, and when he takes a photo, he says that it turned out good. But let the girl open her eyes a little and smile a little more, after which he takes another photo and claims that it turned out great. And he will also take one more photo at the end. The main character then asks if they should be a little closer for a joint photo of the sisters, and then approaches her mistress. Well, he just gets embarrassed, and also surprised, and then runs away altogether. The main character and photographer is then in shock, and at this time the brunette enters the wardrobe, and she understands that this girl will take over the entire kingdom just out of curiosity. At this time, the girl asks the lady for forgiveness, and also tells her to open the door. The young lady asks for forgiveness several more times, and the brunette realizes that she seems to be going crazy when this girl is around. A little time later, she nevertheless comes out of the dressing room, and the main character, a little surprised, turns to her and also claims that she escorted the photographer to them and tidied up the chambers. The girl also asks if she would like a cup of her favorite black tea, and also asks her to say at least something and apologizes again. At this time, the brunette just silently sits down at the table, but at the same moment, someone knocks on the room, and the young lady wonders who it is. Then Charlotte runs into the room, And then he attacks Apple. The main character is a little surprised and asks what happened and where are all the maids of the lady with green hair, but she only asks what she should do. And she says that she cannot return home this way. The young lady then tells the girl to calm down and lay everything out, and also wonders what happened. Charlotte replies that she was challenged to a duel on behalf of Muscari Nora, and it is also necessary to discuss the details. They even put a flower in the envelope. The main character at this time claims that this is a rose, and also says how romantic it is, because it's as if the girl was invited on a date. However, the girl's mistress asks why she is so calm, and the more elegant the invitation, the greater the excitement should be. The main character then turns to Charlotte and asks if she knows who it is. Rose claims that this is not surprising. After all, Muscari Nora is number 17, and her hobby is dueling. That's how she earned all her feathers, and the problem is that they don't know the reason why she challenged Lady Voltaire to a duel. The lady with green hair screams that she really doesn't know anything and has never acted rashly. The main character also claims that Charlotte is not the type to make enemies for herself. However, the brunette claims that she does not know for sure and that one cannot judge a book by its cover, after which she wonders why Charlotte was not told the whole truth. After all, only then will they be able to help her. The lady with green hair then remains silent, and the brunette then says that she will guess. She wonders if it's all the man's fault. Charlotte then asks in shock what she is talking about, and Rose replies that she has heard lately that a girl goes to the library every day to meet someone. And yesterday, the Sapphire Night Ball took place, and this is an event for which everyone wants to find gentleman companions. The main character then wonders what Rose is saying, and the brunette claims that if the girl arrived at the ball accompanied by the one on whom the gaze of Princess Menak fell, then it is quite logical that she sent an invitation to a duel. The main character realizes that she cannot tell her what she saw at the ball, after which she claims that these are just Rose's assumptions. Charlotte at this time turns to Apple and claims that everything is fine. After all, she really came to the ball accompanied by someone she met in the library, although she doesn't think that this has anything to do with the invitation to a duel. But she must tell them everything so that there are no more misunderstandings between them. The girl also talks about how she came to the library and claimed that there were so many interesting books there. But when she looked around, she realized that she had lost the others, and also wondered how she could get out of there. But when the girl went around the corner, she saw someone. And I thought, are these really men? But if this guy can go there, does that mean that he belongs to the royal family? After which the young lady turned to him and asked for forgiveness. She also asked if he could tell me which way to exit. The young man then pointed to one of the sides, and the girl thanked him. A little time later, she was already telling her maids that she needed to go somewhere alone, but she would be back soon, so don't let them worry. One of the maids then asked where the mistress had rushed, and the other asked whether the library was on the wrong side. But lately, she has been visiting there often, and is the mistress really so in love with books? The lady with green hair walked into the library at that time, and she was wondering if this guy would also be there today, because he had not been there for several days, after which she finally saw him and understood that he was still there. The girl also asked for forgiveness, and the young man claimed that it was her again. Charlotte, seeing in his hands the book that he read last time, claimed that he devotes a lot of time to her. But the young man only closed the book and asked what she wanted. Charlotte replied that she had something for him, and the young man wondered if she had brought something for him. The girl then replied that he needed something for the potion that he wanted to receive, after which the young man, in shock, asked what she was talking about. The young lady then handed him a piece of paper and claimed to have indicated the meeting place, and will also be waiting for him tomorrow evening. Now Charlotte claims that she met him in the library and stumbled upon him completely by accident when she was lost, but fell in love at first sight. Rose looks at the girl in shock, and the main character asks if this is true, and also wonders what's next. The lady with green hair claims that she was watching him from afar at the library, and on the night before the ball, she gained the courage to confess her feelings. Rose asks who this gentleman is, and the main character thinks that at least Charlotte didn't know anything, because the crown prince himself recognizes the danger of this young man. The lady with green hair claims that this guy said that he is the son of His Majesty the King, and the main character is shocked and wonders if she really knows. Charlotte also claims that his name is Lord Benjamin, and she is afraid to even look at him again and cannot even greet him properly now. The main character realizes in shock that she thought that just knowing his name would be a betrayal, but now she doesn't even know what to do. Rose at this time says that everything is clear, and she believes that everything that the girl said is true. Charlotte then bites her nails and claims that of course it is. And the brunette claims that the girl is a candidate for crown princess who was caught at the scene of a crime in the company of an illegitimate prince, and she is afraid that they are facing a more serious problem than some kind of duel. A little time later, the main character is already sighing heavily, and Charlotte asserts that she does not want to return home because of this situation, after which the brunette claims that today the lady should rest, and tomorrow she can think about this situation again. A short time later, Rose turns to Apple and asks what she thinks about what Lady Voltaire said. The main character replies that she did not think that Charlotte would talk so directly about the man she liked, after which she also sits down in a chair and says what a shame that she liked this guy. However, the brunette replies that she does not agree there, and that Mistress Charlotte also leads them in by the nose. The young lady then screams in shock. Does she really think that Charlotte is lying to them? And the brunette replies that girls don't have the courage to lie to them. Well, she admits that she is not telling them something, and the girl also wonders if the young lady noticed anything strange in her story. The main character then asks if she is talking about something strange and claims that it seems not. And the brunette claims that Mrs. Charlotte's defense is not so easy to break, and she knows that she needs to be constantly on guard if she wants to survive in the palace. Therefore, Rose asks whether such a lady will follow the object of her desire from afar, and also run away from her maids and keep everything secret, and also invite someone she doesn't even know to the ball as a companion. And moreover, will this gentleman really come to the rampart only because some stranger invited him? The young lady then claims that this is true, and the brunette claims that if he wanted to reject her, he would have done it right away during the confession. But then she asks why the guy came. The main character then claims that maybe Charlotte begged him because she saw how the girl thanked him for the visit and sent him home, pleased that he at least came. The brunette then asks if this means that the girl also attended the ball, after which she answers that yes. Rose asks how her score was, and the main character understands that there was a very attractive poppy who created a fairy tale for her alone, but she can't say. That her future husband gives her butterflies in her stomach, and she will be embarrassed. So the blonde claims that the evening was very pleasant and elegant, and the moon was beautiful. The brunette then says that I understand, and then turns to her sister and also tells her to contact the reception and arrange her study schedule for tomorrow. After all, Benjamin is still a problem for them, but first they need to deal with the duel. And to be honest, it doesn't matter to her whether Lady Charlotte is expelled or not, but for Apple this is important. And she can't let her worry too much, and also get in the way. After this, the main character just smiles and then jumps on Rose with a hug, and also thanks her. The brunette only gets embarrassed after that. And the next day, they decide to talk about the duel. Rose claims that in the garden, dueling is another way to earn feathers besides studying. Both the rules of the game, as well as the competition itself, can be agreed upon by the participants, as well as the number of feathers at stake. But the result of the duel will be decided by the judges, and their number must be odd to avoid a draw. The more difficult it is to determine the winner in a difficult competition, the more important the voice of each judge will be, and since the opponent has determined the time and place, they should be offered what they are strong in. The main character claims that she learned this in the Sasara Palace, and in total Princess Muscari won 5 duels. Well, the lady with green hair claims that the garden only opened a month ago. The brunette claims that 5 real duels is a lot. And the main character claims that this week she took 12th place in the ranking for the number of feathers, so she has about 8 feathers. The green-haired lady then asks how Apple knows all this, and the main character replies that their maids have their name from food, and this girl is mostly invisible, but she still has the same character. One day, right during an argument, she challenged a candidate to a duel. The British woman then wonders how her match she usually chooses. The main character replies that this is fencing, hunting, and also bowling, and Rose claims that this has nothing to do with the nature of the crown princess. The main character then claims that she thinks that this girl won all 5 duels. But the brunette says that the competition is chosen by mutual consent, and if each time the duel was beneficial for her, then this is not a coincidence, which means there are 2 options. The first is in the event that both candidates cannot come to a common decision, and the competition is determined by the judges. But she does not think that this is their case. The main character claims that, in addition to the Duchess, the Pantheon, this girl always chose the judges on the spot, so that each time they were different, and the brunette claims that there is a second option, and this girl forcibly forced the other candidate to agree to her conditions, after which she wonders what Lady Voltaire is thinking, and whether she knows what she might have hidden up her sleeve against her. The green-haired lady then states in shock that she doesn't know. However, Rose claims that she thinks the princess is a real predator in search of a victim, and she definitely chooses a win-win option. For example, she may know that someone met with an illegitimate prince while being a candidate for princess. Charlotte then asks what she is talking about, and the brunette claims that if the princess challenges her to a sword duel today, won't the girl agree? The main character then turns to Charlotte with concern, and Rose argues that if a girl really has such an ace up her sleeve, then she will be at a disadvantage even if she wins, and it will be a bad outcome if she comes out on top in the duel. And if the girl loses and tells someone outside the palace walls about what happened, then if she really knows something important about Summer, then they have nothing to do there. Therefore, now the brunette only says that Madame Voltaire should return home, because even if she is expelled, she has already been to the ball and stayed there for a whole month. Apple then turns to her mistress and screams that this is too much, but the brunette claims that this is not another game of survival, and it doesn't matter how much time the candidate spends there, because the main thing is victory. However, the lady with green hair immediately jumps up from her seat and screams that no, then claims that she cannot allow herself to be expelled now. The brunette then wonders if the girl really wants to marry a prince whom she has never met in her life, and asks how Prince Benjamin is doing. However, the lady with green hair claims that she cannot leave everything like that, and cannot leave the palace now. She also addresses Mrs. Arden, and also states that it does not matter what game she will be forced to compete in, but if there is a chance to somehow minimize the risks, then she asks to tell her about it. Rose then says that Madame Voltaire has 2 feathers, and asks if the girl thinks that if she has one left, she will not be expelled. The lady with green hair claims that she did not even think about winning, and she is not her, or Lady Lereer. So earning even 1 feather was extremely difficult for her, and she does not want to lose it due to some kind of duel. But it's better to lose one than to go home. Rose then asks if the girl is already thinking about defeat, and she replies that she always thinks about defeat, because she will never win. But the brunette asks whether such a fierce struggle does not stand out to her at all, because there will be no end to the duels, and nothing will stop Princess Menach from challenging the lady to another one, and the candidate will not be able to refuse her without a single feast. The green-haired lady is then very worried, and the brunette claims that she does not want to help her, if in this way she will have to borrow her feathers. However, she can offer the girl options. Charlotte claims that even if she wins, this girl might know something about her. Rose replies that she needs to defeat this girl on all fronts so that her pride is shattered. And the words of those in the hands of power always have a greater effect, so if she claims that she does not know any Prince Benjamin, then this may work if she wins. Well, the lady with green hair claims that she is not good at fencing or other competitions, and that the gay man will never defeat the princess. However, the main character claims that the girl is a good rider, and the horse riding lessons took place in the fresh air. So she watched Charlotte, and since the princess is good at hunting, she will have nothing against riding a horse, and she is also sure that the girl will accept the challenge. Rose claims that horseback riding is a good option, and at least much better than bowling. She also argues that Charlotte should put both her feathers on the line, and the opponent must also be forced to go all in. A short time later, the main character is already heading for her mistress, and also claims that she has never seen Charlotte again. The girl also wonders how long she has not left her chambers, and Rose claims that she is sure that Charlotte is simply nervous before the duel, although such hiding will not do any good. Apple then turns to the mistress and states that she will go check on how Charlotte is feeling. Damn, the rollback is a little surprising, and the young lady claims that she heard the girl hardly eats, so she will prepare soup for her. She also asks Rosa if she will let her in, and also asks her about this, calling the girl a lovely and generous lady. After this, the brunette only gets embarrassed, and also tells the girl to do it quickly and immediately come back. Then the young lady comes into the kitchen and claims that it's time for her magic, but then she sees someone in the kitchen. This guy immediately approaches the young lady and also grabs her hand, and she screams what the girl is doing there, after which he turns around and begins to drag the young lady along with him, and she wonders what is happening. Apple also asks where he is from, and the young man wonders if she is a servant and not a candidate. The girl replies that yes, and as he sees it, she is just a maid, so she asks him to explain to her what is happening. The guy replies that she shouldn't know why he is there, and the young lady then wonders why he brought her there then. The young man wonders if the girl knows Charlotte Voltaire. The main character then thinks whether it will harm Charlotte if she tells the truth, but she also cannot deny it outright. The young man at this time asks whether the girl is also her maid, and the young lady replies that she is not, and she serves another mistress. The guy then gets a little angry and claims that they have nothing to talk about then. But the young lady then claims that he is Prince Benjamin, and if he wants to convey the message to Lady Voltaire, then she can help. However, the young man then looks at her coldly and asks if the girls also know about him. He also claims that apparently it's all his fault, and since the girl knows who he is, let him tell Charlotte the following. Then he throws some box to the girl and claims that he does not need handouts from this girl and let her take it back. The young lady then tells the guy to wait, and he asks what else is needed. Apple asks His Highness to tell her everything, and maybe it will be something like an audience. However, the guy claims that he has nothing to talk to her about. But the main character then claims that Charlotte can fall into eternal sleep, and the young man then asks in shock why she would do that. The blonde replies that Princess Menek has assigned her a duel. Well, she thinks that this girl has dirt on Charlotte. The young man then asks what's wrong with this, but the main character claims that he went with this girl and attacked him, and if Charlotte is expelled from the garden, he will never see her again. However, the guy claims that there is simply nothing between them, and her lady wonders why he went to the ball with her then. The prince replies that if he had known where she was going to drag him, he would never have come, and everything he was there for lies in this box in her hands, and since he no longer needs it, he decided to return it to her. Apple then tells him to return it to Charlotte himself. The young man is a little surprised, and the girl claims that she is not even this lady's servant, and wonders how he can be sure that she will give it to her, and also what if she accidentally loses something, and what will happen if she opens it, or the girl wonders if she can look inside. The young man then screams no, and she will be in trouble if she looks inside, and then screams for the girl to give this box back. And he takes it away, and the main character says that then this is something important. She also claims that if the guy wants to return it to her himself, then let him come to the palace gardens in 6 days. After all, Charlotte's duel will take place at 2 o'clock, and this may be her last day in the palace. After this, the young man just turns around and claims that this does not concern him, and the main character then returns back to the kitchen and thinks what he meant when he said that when the girl meets this special one, she should tell her not to try to bribe her anymore. After all, it will be better if this girl becomes the crown princess through the garden of noble maidens or whatever it is. The blonde also thinks that he won't name a love message under the dome, and also wonders if it was really money. Well, the young lady still understands that this cannot be, because he is, after all, from the royal family. However, then the main character remembers that they were in the botanical section of the library when they first met. Well, then the young lady realizes that the soup can wait, and first she needs to tell Rose everything. Then the young lady drags her mistress to the table, and she asks what's so small about it. The main character claims that she thinks that she understood everything, and the relationship between Charlotte and Prince Benjamin is not entirely love, because she thinks that the girl gave him some herbs, and the wind told Lollipop with green hair that the guy was reading a book on botany. So maybe the injuries were an excuse to get closer, and also a kind of gift. The brunette then turns to Apple and asks who in their right mind would give herbs. But the young lady asks what if the girl gave him a potion? And the brunette claims that most herbs can already be found in the palace gardens. But then suddenly, she understands something and claims that these are not herbs at all. Rose also thinks that this guy's mother, and thanks to Leto, she found out that the guy started studying botany because of her condition. A young man stuck in the library botanical corner on a daily basis. And Charlotte, who was secretly leafing through the same book, and also, of course, got something that the illegitimate prince could never get, but which would force him to appear at the Sapphire Night Ball. And this is a medicine hidden from the white light. This was the very ace in the girl's sleeve that could be used against the two of them. The main character claims that if these are not herbs, then they are poisonous plants. The brunette replies that poisonous plants are prohibited, and for the safety of His Majesty, however, if used correctly, they can become a necessary medicine. Well, she asks how the blonde came up with everything, and then replies that she met Prince Benjamin in the kitchen while she was preparing soup for Charlotte. Rose then wonders what the guy was doing there, and the main character claims that he seemed to want to convey something to Charlotte, but nothing worked out for him. The brunette then claims that she needs to think everything over carefully, but that is her problem, and Apple should better take care of Charlotte Voltaire. The main character smiles after this, and also hugs her mistress and thanks her. A short time later, the main character already enters the room of a lady with green hair and wonders if she can enter. Charlotte then, all teary, asks Apple if this is it, and the main character comes up to her and asks why the girl behaves as if she is already lost, because she must give it her all. But she made a bet. Charlotte then asks what kind of bet, but the main character does not answer that every time the maids make bets on who will win this or that duel, and she bet all her savings on Charlotte. The lady with green hair then asks in shock why the girl did this, and the blonde claims that she believes in her and then tells her to try the soup, and her soul will feel better. Charlotte then smiles and thanks her, and a week later, the day of the appointed duel finally arrives. The main character realizes that she heard that Charlotte trained hard every night, and she also hopes that this demonstrates her serious attitude, and at least this girl would defeat them. But in any case, Prince Benjamin will arrive today. However, then the main character in shock thinks what to do because she forgot about it, after which she immediately runs into Rose's room and also claims that she forgot to tell her something. Rose then asks what she is talking about, and then gets the girl to calm down and talk. Apple claims that there is such a thing that the prince found out from her that Charlotte is having a blowing party today, so he will come to see. The brunette then comes into shock and asks why the girl invited him there. The main character then claims that this could be her last day in the palace, and she shouldn't think so, and hope that Charlotte will win. But who knows how everything will be. Rose then wonders if this guy has any idea where they are, but then says that this can't be true. And even if he had just a drop of common sense, he would never come. But the blonde wonders if his presence will not cheer up Charlotte because she really likes him. However, the brunette asks what if it only makes her more nervous, but Apple claims that she told him to return the gift himself, and she is sure that he will personally give it to her. However, Rose understands that this prince is not stupid enough to be there in person, and then claims that she is betting one feather on the fact that he will not come. The girl also thinks what this guy was up to, and if he only needed the herbs, he would have taken them and forgotten about Charlotte. And if he had doubted that these were the necessary herbs, he would have easily gotten rid of them. But the girl wonders if he decides to take the risk and personally return them to her hands. After which she also says that maybe it's not so bad that they met each other. Rose smiles, and the young lady asks what she is talking about. The girl claims that if the illegitimate prince appears at an event where only the candidate is present, it will cause an extraordinary commotion. The main character also says that this will put Charlotte at a disadvantage, but then she also asks what if she offers her her own option. The young man is in his office at this time and looks at the scribbled page, and also realizes that he has failed again, after which he looks at the box and realizes that this is a dangerous poisonous plant. However, if used correctly, it can become a necessary medicine, after which he wonders why he even took it. But every time he remembers who gets angry, and the guy thinks, how can this girl even boldly wrap her around her finger and drag him to the ball? and only for the sake of apologizing, and then again apologizing for doing this. Then the guy grabs this box and screams, "What does this even mean?" Because if she wants to seduce him, then she needs to choose decent methods. And the girl was not born head to toe. She never invited her to dance. After which, he also thinks whether there will be a duel today or whatever, and also understands that he has nothing but problems. He is also not sure whether this girl is so stupid or extremely cunning, but she has put too much on him, and the guy understands that he did not need to get involved in this from the very beginning. After which, he finds himself on the street, but then someone turns to His Highness and says that he has come after all. It turns out that this is the main character, and the guy at the same moment claims that he has not come anywhere. The young lady then turns to her mistress and claims that the guy wants them to leave this place, and the young man wonders if she really brought her mistress, but the girl said that she does not serve the Voltaire family, after which he looks into the carriage and thinks who is there. And the main character turns to him and claims that her mistress asked him to tell him that if he does not go with them, then let him return the poisonous herbs. The young man then asks in shock, how did they know about this? And the main character claims that they will pass everything on, so she asks him to do this. The young man again in shock asks, where did she know about the poisonous herbs? And he also wonders why he should believe them. The blonde understands that his reaction is exactly the same as Rose predicted. Their main character wonders if he has already used them. The young man then screams that he didn't use anything, after which he holds out the box, and the main character then asks him to go with them. After all, if he doesn't give these herbs back, they will only bring him more problems. The guy then sighs and climbs into the carriage, but when he sees Rosa, who asks who she is, the brunette then says that she is pleased to meet Prince Benjamin. The young man then stands in bewilderment, but at the same moment the carriage door closes. The guy is then a little surprised and asks what they are going to do, and a little time later, he is already sitting with his mouth tied. The brunette asks him to forgive them for their ignorance, but they are trying for his sake. A short time later, they already enter the place where the duel is to take place, and the main character says that quite a lot of people gathered there. Rose invites her maid to hurry because they need to arrange a rendezvous with Lady Voltaire before the duel begins. The young lady then asks what the mistress will do, and she replies that she will only worsen the situation if she goes with them. The girl then smiles and states that she will be waiting for them at the races, so don't let her be late. Then, the main character walks into the waiting room, and the lady with green hair asks if it's Apple. The main character claims that this is an exciting event and asks if it is true. She also claims that they came to support her, and that a girl with black hair is standing next to the young lady. Charlotte then asks who it is near the girl, and Apple just pushes the brunette and claims that she doesn't think they will have enough time after the duel, so she brought him there. After which, the young man stands in front of the young lady and then hands her the box, and also tells her to take it back. The lady with green hair realizes that this voice seems very familiar to her, and then she looks at the man's face, and in shock, he asks if it is really His Highness. But this cannot be. The guy then gets embarrassed and claims that this whole masquerade is not his idea, but the lady with green hair just laughs after that. And he also wonders if this gloomy Prince Benjamin, who is constantly hiding in the library, has put on a dress. The girl also tries to stop laughing and asks her to forgive her, but the guy wonders if it's really that funny. He also claims that the girl can ask for forgiveness later, but now he asks if he can talk to her. Charlotte then wonders what he wants to talk about the young man, claims that he doesn't know who could do it, but will say right away that the girl can forget about it, and he really needed what was in the box, but he was not going to lose his head over some trifle. But it looks like a lot has fallen on her too, so this will serve as a lesson for her in the future. And after some time, the crown prince will choose a tin princess for himself, and he is also sure that from this union, a child will be born, whose right to the throne will exceed his existing ones. And he is also sure that by then, the prince will reveal his identity, and he will finally be allowed to leave this palace. Charlotte then tries to say something else, but the guy just turns around and claims that he is looking for a cure himself. He also asks her to listen to his advice for the sake of the time they spend together. After which, he tells the girl not to linger there because this place is rotten through and through, and let her run as soon as she has the opportunity. And if she can lose, then let her lose. The main character then screams in shock at what he's saying, and whether he even has any idea how hard this girl worked. But the young man just screams that he already told her to lose, and also wonders why this girl is so noisy. After which he leaves the room, and Apple screams in shock that he can't walk around alone. Then she also comes out and tells Charlotte that no matter what anyone says, she is always on her side and will only root for her. When the main character leaves the room, tears begin to flow from the eyes of the lady with green hair, and then she sits down on the floor and also claims that even if the guy says such things, she will still do her best. At this time, someone addresses the brunette as her sister, and the young lady then realizes that this is Lady Larir, and then asks how she is doing. The blonde then asks if she won't call her Iris. Rose replies that the funny thing is that only people gathered for the sake of a duel between some two candidates, and it's probably all the fault of the Duchess of the Pantheon. She hasn't appeared in the garden lately, and the girl is sure that as a rival, she has something to worry about. After all, she needs to get rid of many candidates soon. At this time, the start of the duel is announced, and the blonde turns to Rose and claims that she will tell this only to her. The girl also says that news came from Sid, that after today's duel, the Duchess will add a new rule. When the Sapphire Night Ball is over, the judges will set new rules to exclude many candidates at once. This is a special measure to reduce costs for the garden and again attract public attention. Well, the brunette understands that she needs to save as many candidates as possible and also delay the duration of the garden for at least a month. And this is what she needs to do. Iris then says that it looks like today's loser will be the scapegoat for the new festival, and Rose states that this is probably the case. She also realizes that the only reason they are telling her everything is because they support her plan, and these two know who she really is, and they also understand why she hates the garden so much. At this time, someone reports that Princess Muscari and her horse are performing first. The prince at this time approaches the main character and claims that they said that it was so simple, but you just need to look at this horse because it is a beautiful horse. Rose then thinks that she can't believe that she is meeting her stepbrother for the first time, and they are both dressed as girls. But maybe it's good that he doesn't know anything. The girl then wonders why he came back, and is it really because he is stupid? However, the young man then screams for her to just shut up. Rose then claims that she thinks that since the guy is an illegitimate son, he speaks and behaves like a commoner. But after this, the young man screams out who this girl is, and if she becomes the crown princess, he will simply run away from there even if it costs him his life. After this, the main character only tells him to stop attracting attention to himself, and the young man calms down and also sighs, after which he looks at the obstacle course and also wonders whether the one with the shortest lap time wins. Apple claims that this too, and there are also points for how well you have tamed your horse. The brunette then says that the judges will decide everything, and Lady Voltaire will lose. The princess at this time continues her horse racing, after which he finally reaches the finish line. Someone reports that next will be Lady Charlotte Voltaire and her horse. Then the lady with green hair also comes out with her horse, and the main character immediately grabs the prince's hand and also claims that Charlotte should win because she will root for her. However, the brunette then asks what she is doing and also screams for the girl to root for her after she lets him go. Charlotte then overcomes all the obstacles with ease, and one of the women asks if they are too low. Another is also interested in how the girl overcomes them so easily. The main character at this time is rooting for Charlotte and claims that she almost won, after which the girl overcomes the last obstacle and takes off his hat and also breathes heavily. At this point, one of the judges jumps up in his seat and claims that it was wonderful. All the people clap for Charlotte and are a little surprised, after which everyone smiles at him. The brunette rises from her seat at this time. The main character then asks Rosa if she is going to return, because if so, she offers to go together. But her mistress claims that she has a headache, so she needs to go to bed early. And also, she will be fine, so let the girl escort the prince back and forth. But the main game does not state that the lady should not be alone, and she would like to have a clone. The brunette only claims that this is only when she needs to look the part. He also asks to tell Lady Charlotte to come to her room tomorrow, and the main character wonders if she has anything to say. Rose claims that they will just play chess, and then leaves, and the prince then claims that he is sure this girl will be fine. At this time, two candidates are next to each other, and someone asks for the attention of the audience. This man claims that they are announcing the results of the judges, and also, with 2 out of 3 votes, Princess Muskari Norha confirms. Charlotte, hearing this, is shocked. At this time, someone turns to her and asks her to put down her pen. The girl then puts down this pero with shaking hands, and then it is brought to the princess. She just takes the pen in her hands and grins, and at this time, the main character squeezes her form, and someone reports that this ends the duel. And the Duchess of the Pantheon announces a new rule. So Higai asks everyone not to leave their place, and also to remain quiet. After this, the Duchess rises and claims that from now on, the candidates who remain will participate in the voting. Candidates who will have to leave the garden will be determined by voting, and even if the majority votes for them, the girl can stay if she gives up 1 feather. Well, if she doesn't have feathers, then she will have to leave the garden. Sid then states that the first vote will be in 3 days. Well, the main character then realizes in shock that Charlotte just lost all her feathers in a duel, but she tried so hard not to lose. But then the young lady shakes her head and realizes that she is confident that Rose will come up with a solution. And first, she must take Prince Benjamin to his chambers. The blonde also claims that she knows that he came to return the package, but they have to go, after which the girl grabs the young man and claims that she called the keyboard, so she suggests they just go like this until they get there. However, the young man then asked if they should go like this together. Sid is near his horse at this time and claims that there is still a little time left before riding lessons. He also thinks that maybe he should check on Iris, after which the young man goes somewhere. Well, when he goes down the stairs, he sees the main character, who is just closing the door to the carriage, and after which she sets off. Then the blonde approaches the Duke and asks why he is still there. The guy replies that he was already back, and the young lady says that is great, and also says that she would like to ask him something. The young man then wonders if she really wants to ask him something, after which a carriage also drives up there, and the guy asks if she wants to come in, and also claims that he is sure that a full circle around the palace will give them enough time to talk. When the young lady enters the carriage, she claims that she wants to talk about today's duel, and the guy says that it's clear, and the main character wonders who was better in his eyes. The blonde replies that he thinks the girl understands that he was only assessing skills, and the young lady claims that maybe it's because she was rooting for Charlotte, but she doesn't think it's right. After all, the girl was so good, and she cannot understand how it all happened. The young man then claims that Lady Voltaire was beautiful, and she was like a completely different person. The guy also asks if it was Apple who convinced her to get on the horse, and Rose wouldn't have done that. Apple claims that she did little, and that it was all on Charlotte's side. What am I saying then that the girl would not have changed? If Apple hadn't given her hope, then she would have accepted the same outcome more easily. The main character then wonders if he wants to say that Charlotte tried very hard and lost everything because of her, after which she tells the guy to be honest, and wonders if Charlotte was better. After this, the young man just smiles and remains silent, and the main character then approaches him and claims that the guy said that he would be a fair judge. However, the Duke claims that he has nothing more to say to her regarding his choice, and also wonders if Rose has told her anything about him. The main character then remembers how the brunette talked about what a pathetic bastard this guy was, and that his role should be a flower. Now the young man claims that Chancellor loves Rose very much, and the lady whose girl serves will not harm her. The main character then thinks that she now seems to understand what Rose meant. Well, now she just asks the guy why this is so, and is it really possible that Rose can stay? But Charlotte can't. The young man claims that their job is to constantly judge, and they choose the next queen. This is the girl who will remain close to the crown prince, even after he takes the throne. And the garden does not harm anyone, and there will only be one winner, and even if they drink, no harm will be done to them. The young man also tucks a lock of the girl's hair and states that the garden is a festival, and everyone should return home after the festival ends. The guy also tells her to just think about it like people who go home first. The main character screams that she knows this, however. But at the same moment, the door opens, and the young man with a smile on his face claims that he sincerely hopes that the girl will remember this as a great holiday. The main character then thinks what she expected from Lord Sid, but he was kind and friendly from the very beginning, but never said that he was on Rose's side. And since he was Rose's half-brother, who knew what the girl had gone through, and the main character must have assumed that he knew everything, so she expected a lot and was also very disappointed. The girl also enters the room and wonders if Rose is already asleep. She also hopes that the girl is not sick and she should just check on her. But then the brunette turns to Apple, and the main character shudders and also asks if she was really awake. Rose replies that she just couldn't sleep, but that she'll soon fall asleep. Their main character asks if she's okay and if she's hurting anywhere. The girl replies that no, and everything is fine with her. After which, she turns to Apple and asks if she can open the bottom drawer. The main character does so, and the brunette asks if she can get her 2 pills from the blue bottle. Apple realizes that there are 2 bottles there, but it's so dark that she can't see well. Then she takes out one of them and asks if it's her. However, it turns out to be a red bottle. The brunette at this time turns to Apple and tells her to stay in her room until she calls her, and also come out only when she wants to eat. Apple then wonders if Rose really wants her to stay in the maid of honor's bedroom, after which she agrees, and also tells the girl to call if she needs anything. A little time later, the main character already wakes up from hearing some moans, and also thinks what kind of noise it is. But then the girl immediately gets up from her bed and asks if it's Rose. The young lady immediately runs up to the mistress, and in shock asks if her legs are okay. The brunette only asks who the Rose is. The blonde then thinks about what this girl is talking about, and also whether she is still sleeping. Rose asks if this is the maid of honor, and the girl replies that yes, and she is her maid of honor. But the brunette only tells the young lady to get out, and also forgets that she saw her face and leaves immediately. The young lady then wonders if she is sick and whether she should call a doctor. Apple also wonders what the girl will do if she leaves her. However, Rose pushes the main character away and screams at her to get out, and also to leave her and not come near her. The main character then turns to the brunette in a little surprise, but she claims that everything will go away on its own. Apple then asks what happened, and is it really because of Charlotte? Rose only claims that she knows everything, and her girl cannot change the ways of nature. And also, it is impossible to bring back those who are no longer alive, and fate cannot be changed. The main character is then a little surprised, and also says that she doesn't know what she's talking about. But the brunette just wraps herself in a blanket and tells the girl not to look at her or her face. The main character then just hugs the girl. He also agrees and claims that he won't look at her if she doesn't want to. Apple also thinks that her mistress is so beautiful, and she doesn't understand why the girl won't let her look at her face. Apple also understands that everyone will love her, and the crown prince too, as will her family, because even she loves her. After which, the young lady claims that she will wait until the Rose shows it to her. However, the girl only tells the young lady to leave because she, too, will fall into eternal sleep. However, the main character says that everything is fine and she will live. A few days after the duel, the lady with green hair begs one of the girls to help her one time. She also claims that she needs the feather and wants to at least survive this vote. Then she also turns to the other lady and asks her to fight her only once because she will do anything. However, the lady then apologizes, but claims that she knows that she is in a difficult situation, but she also needs all the feathers she can get. But she still claims that she can't help her, just because Charlotte looks pathetic, so she asks to ask someone else for help. The green-haired lady claims that she is not asking her to lose on purpose, and that she will leave if she loses. He also claims that he will do whatever the lady asks, and just let her have a duel with her, because even a simple game will do. However, the lady asks why the girl pestered her, and being alone is so troublesome, after which she snatches her dress. The other girls also say that all you have to do is look at the young lady. But she does it again, and one of the ladies claims that she would have just left after losing that duel. Another lady asks how she can even show her face there. Another girl claims that she knows what a wretched sight this is, and everyone knows that the Duchess does not love her, and even if the girl survives this vote, either she will soon be gone, or the girl doesn't even have a pen to send a letter of challenge, so she must ask others. The lady with red hair is at this time asking if the girl is really going to do anything. The lady with green hair claims that yes, and she will do anything to get the girl to fight her. After which her interlocutor just grins and also asks if the girl can then kiss her feet. Charlotte is then a little surprised and the girl only asks if the proud daughter of the Count can do this. However, at the same moment, the main character stands in front of this woman and claims that she cannot do this to the girl because they are equal candidates. The lady with red hair asks in shock if the girl really dares to criticize her, and the blonde screams, "Who cares that she is a maid of honor?" because there are things that a girl should not do as a person. Rose at this time turns to Apple and tells her to stop. After which, the girl approaches Lady Lindsay and bows, and also apologizes for not training her maid of honor properly. She also asks to forgive her this time for her sake, and the woman then argues that the girl should train her servants better, after which the brunette thanks her for her generosity and turns to Apple and also tells her to come with her